Chapter 793. Those who came from small towns were considered lowly. The young man Andrew pursed his lips and continued to cook. He was wearing a clean and tidy white chef's suit with an exquisite badge on his chest with 3 golden stars shining brightly. As a 3-star chef awarded by the Alliance, he earned quite a lot of money, but ever since he became obsessed with a certain virtual idol, his expenses had become too high. Paying for a single item, gifting gifts, and making thorough purchases were all standard operations. As long as he spent enough money, he could even hold hands and hug his idol. Of course, there were still some things he couldn't do. The reason Andrew was short of money recently was that he wanted to marry this virtual idol and had to pay a huge sum of money. However, Andrew had a decent job and he didn't want others to know that he was an otaku. Hence, he secretly came to the DIY kitchen to save money for his marriage. Beep! The sound of a live stream being started came from next door. Andrew smirked contemptuously. A country bumpkin is a country bumpkin. The entertainment industry in the Alliance was developed and live streams were popular throughout the galaxy. However, the competition was great and there was a lot of infighting. Not to mention that it was difficult for newcomers to make a name for themselves. Veteran hosts would be abandoned by their fans as soon as their livestream content became boring or of poor quality. Hence, hosts nowadays would pursue the use of the most high-tech equipment and livestream content to be as vivid and interesting as possible. Some would even write a script and follow it closely to the livestream. At present, the most popular livestream channels were virtual idols, games, battles, and so on. Food was a neglected channel. This DIY kitchen has such poor livestream equipment and it's a cold channel. Why would anyone watch it? Andrew thought it was ridiculous. At most, only 10 viewers would watch this country bumpkin's livestream. On the other hand, Xianxia entered the information on her optical computer and opened the livestream channel. She casually named it Eat Well, and lowered her head to prepare the ingredients. The quality of the ingredients in this DIY kitchen was quite good. The tomatoes were bright red and the pulp was sweet. The eggs were plump and were about half the size of Xianxia's palm. At this moment, people started streaming into the livestream channel. No way are there live streams these days that don't share their sense of smell and taste. Wow, the host's hands are so beautiful. Is she a girl? Damn, she can beat eggs with one hand? 6666, that's amazing. On the hologram, the young girl's fingers were slender and nimble. Her single-handed movements were like moving clouds and flowing water. In this era where most people didn't know how to cook, it was indeed amazing. After that, Xianxia added seasoning into the egg. She didn't use any tools like a balance or 2 spoonfuls. She just added the seasoning directly. Then, she made a cross cut on the tomato and added it to the hot water to boil it for a moment. After scooping it up, she easily peeled off the tomato skin. Amazing. Is the host a star chef? How can he add such a precise dosage? Oh my god. Was the streamer performing magic? This is too amazing. Could it be that she's a star chef? There were only a few people in the live stream, so they invited their friends to watch together. The new viewers couldn't help but share the link on social media. By the time Xianxia started cooking, the number of viewers in the live broadcast room had already exceeded 100. Xianxia suddenly remembered that Yan Kai had taught her to interact more with the audience when she was selling goods in the livestream room. So, she raised her small face and said gently, "Good morning, I'll start cooking now." Chapter 794. The girl's voice was clean and clear, and she spoke at an unhurried pace, which somehow made people feel very comfortable. Some of the viewers who had just clicked in and were about to leave subconsciously paused their fingers. Since I have nothing to do, why don't I watch for a while longer? Unknowingly, these people became the retention rate, and it could be said that almost all the new viewers stayed behind. At this moment, the temperature of the oil was about right, and Xianxia poured the egg mixture into the pot while explaining. The oil has to be heated up so that the egg mixture will expand quickly when it's hot, and the scrambled eggs won't stick to the pan. The 3-star chef next door, Andrew, widened his emerald-like eyes when he heard this. How can this country bumpkin know a technique that only 2-star chefs know? The chefs in the Alliance were now divided into 1-star to 5-star chefs, with 5-star being the highest level and symbolizing the highest honor that the Alliance had bestowed upon chefs. Could it be that this country bumpkin is a 2-star chef? So what if she's a 2-star chef? I'm a 3-star chef. Andrew maintained his sense of superiority as always and continued to work hard to save money for his wife. Suddenly, a rich aroma wafted to the tip of his nose. The sweet and sour taste of the tomatoes and the delicate fragrance of the eggs blended together to create a harmonious and wonderful aroma. This seasoning, Andrew couldn't help but sniff a few more times. In the live stream, the viewers couldn't smell anything due to the equipment issues. However, they could see the eggs and tomatoes being stir-fried in the pot up close, and the juices of the tomatoes splashed out, gradually forming a red broth. They could also hear the sizzling sound of the eggs hitting the hot oil as well as the sound of the ingredients being tossed around in the pot. Oh my god! She actually knows how to toss the ladle. This is a technique that only 3-star chefs know. This is the first time I'm actually drooling without sharing my sense of smell and taste. Host, how much is this pot of scrambled eggs with tomatoes? I'll buy it. At this moment, a gift notification suddenly popped up in the live stream. Jianghu has sent Tu to a luxurious airship. For a moment, the live stream was in an uproar. The value of a luxurious airship was almost equivalent to hunting down a B-grade insect beast, which was indeed a lot for a new host. Some viewers recognized Jianghu and exclaimed in shock, "Isn't she a famous rich fan of the Alliance livestream?" Previously, he gave a combat blogger a few 100,000 star coins as a reward. Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder and lamented that this newbie streamer's luck was too good. A rainbow-colored bullet screen popped up in the comments section. It was Jianghu. "I'll take care of all the dishes you cook today." Xianxia was so immersed in cooking that she didn't have time to read the comments in the live stream room. There's a little trick to scrambled eggs with tomatoes. You can add salt at the end. That way, when you start eating, the tomatoes will release the fresh gravy completely, and the taste will be even better. Also, if you like something sweet, you can add a little sugar to neutralize the sour taste of the tomatoes. If you like sweet and sour food, you can add some ketchup. The girl turned off the fire and scooped out 3 plates of scrambled eggs with tomatoes. Every plate was brightly colored and appetizing. Xianxia was about to check if there were any viewers watching the live stream when a big hairy head suddenly popped in from next door. "Damn it, I really can't stand this temptation." "Cough, miss, can I buy a plate of your tomato scrambled eggs?" Chapter 795. Xianxia froze for a moment before nodding. Sure. After all, her original intention was to sell the food she cooked. Then how about 200 star coins per plate? Andrew gave a moderate price. The restaurant he was currently in had an elegant environment and top-notch ingredients. The price of a dish on the menu was about the same. However, the viewers in the live stream were anxious. Only 200? Who are you trying to scam? Host, don't agree. Sell it to Jianghu for at least 10 times the price. Please, host, look at the comments. Jianghu is still waiting for your reply. It's my first time watching a live stream, I'm so worried. Xianxia, on the other hand, felt that 200 star coins was quite a lot. She had spent more than 30 star coins on the hover car, renting the cooking station, and buying the ingredients. If she sold it, she would make a net profit of more than 100 star coins. The two scanned their optical computers and reached a deal. When Xianxia saw the extra balance in her account, the pressure in her heart lessened slightly. Andrew went back to his cubicle to get a spoon and said in a tone as if he was a senior guiding a junior, "You're live streaming? Then you can see if anyone in the live stream wants to buy it. As long as the price is right, you can get the robot to pack it up and send it to them on the interstellar train." Xianxia said sincerely, "Thank you." Looking into the girl's clear and bright eyes, Andrew's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. He lowered his head to hide it and scooped up a spoonful of scrambled eggs with tomatoes. Well, there was water in the eggs, so they tasted very tender. Well, the tomatoes were peeled and cut into small pieces, so the pulp was almost all melted and the texture was very smooth. Well, that's it. What the hell? How can there be such delicious scrambled eggs with tomatoes in this world? Andrew was shocked. He went from tasting it in small bites at the beginning to gobble it down in large bites. At first, he could still analyze how Xianxia had made this dish, but it didn't take long for his rationality to be completely taken over by the delicious taste. The delicious taste seemed to have directly stimulated the deepest part of his soul. Every chewing and swallowing was the most enjoyable thing in the world. Xianxia also looked at the live stream and was surprised to find that there were already thousands of people watching it. Her page directly showed the amount of gifts she had received. Converted into numbers, it was actually a few thousand star coins? Xianxia was a little surprised. She had also seen Jianghu's bullet screen. The tycoon's font was colorful and dazzling, and he was hanging in the middle of the live stream. "Do you want to buy it?" 200 star coins for one set. Is it okay if you don't include shipping? Xianxia asked gently. The main reason was that she wasn't sure how much the robot would cost. If it was too expensive, she wouldn't be able to afford it in her current situation. Jianghu: Jianghu, 200? Who are you looking down on? How about 2,000? I'll pay for the shipping fee. Xianxia thought for a moment. Do you want to have lunch? Shall I pair it with some other dishes? Yun Zhongyue, all right. After that, he gave Xiangyi a luxurious airship. There was no other reason. He just felt that Xiangyi's words were very pleasant to hear. She was neither servile nor overbearing nor pretentious. In this era where people were indifferent to each other, she gave people a very mysterious impression. Gentle. Besides, this little bit of money was nothing to her anyway. Big brother made so much money, so someone should spend it for him. Xiangyi used the remaining cooking time to braise a pot of mixed grain rice, a dozen sandwiches and 2 stir-fried dishes, 1 meat and 1 vegetable. Chapter 796. Xiangyi didn't know how many people were in Yun Zhongyue's family, so she just put in some mixed grain rice, stir-fried vegetables, and 6 sandwiches for the family of 4. Thanks to the advanced food storage box in this plane, all the food was still fresh when it was delivered to Yun Zhongyue. Andrew didn't even bother to save up for his wife's money. He just stayed by Xiangyi's side. Every time she made a dish, he would be the first to buy it shamelessly. In the live stream, besides Yun Zhongyue, there were other viewers who offered to buy the food. Xiangyi sold the rest of the food at the same price. After the cooking time was over, a robot came to clean up. Xiangyi also turned off the live stream. Andrew noticed that the girl's live stream had a total of 20,000 viewers. Thinking back to his first live stream, the number of viewers was only in the single digits. Sometimes, the gap between people was even bigger than the gap between humans and insectoids. He asked curiously, "The numbers are good. Aren't you going to continue live streaming? If you continue, you'll probably make 10,000 star coins today." 10,000 star coins wasn't much in the rich district, but in the slums, it was a high-paying job that was envied by many. "Xiangyi, I have more important things to do." She shoved 2 egg and ham salad sandwiches into Andrew's hands. "Here, these are for you. You seem to like them." "Then I'll give you star coins." Xiangyi smiled. "No need. Consider this a thank you gift." Andrew was very naggy. He couldn't stop talking while watching her live stream. However, he taught Xiangyi a lot of knowledge and helped her sell the food. Xiangyi was quite grateful to him. The girl walked out of the DIY kitchen. Andrew scratched his head and strode after her. "Oh, I'm Andrew. Can we add each other as friends on the photon computer?" Xiangyi didn't want to have too much contact with people in this plane, but when she met Andrew's sincere eyes, she thought about it and added him. It was just that he was using his newly registered account. Andrew was very happy to add her as a friend. "You can ask me any questions." Xiangyi thanked him and left in the hover car. On the way back, the optical computer kept flashing non-stop. She opened it and it was actually full of messages from Andrew. He was undoubtedly a chatterbox. Xiangyi didn't reply. Instead, she checked her balance. The star coins sold to Andrew were directly transferred to his account. However, the star coins sold to the viewers in the live streaming room had to be withdrawn by the platform. Nowadays, the Alliance had formed a monopoly in the live streaming industry. Other than a few big streamers who had the right to speak and had a higher share of the profits, the smaller streamers basically had a 30-70 ratio. A new streamer like Xiangyi was even more miserable. That was to say, out of 10,000 star coins she could only get 2,000. Moreover, she had to pay several kinds of taxes to the Alliance. In the end, her share of gifts from the live broadcast room would only be a few thousand star coins. Xiangyi sighed and set aside a portion of the star coins for daily expenses and used the rest to pay off Yi's debt. If she didn't return the money, the interest would increase. She didn't want to be arrested before she could think of a way to go home. The girl leaned her forehead against the window and stared blankly at the city filled with lights and shadows. Brother, grandparents, and Shui, were they okay now? What Xiangyi didn't know was that her live stream today had gone viral on the Star Domain network. Chapter 797. At first, it was a video review by a viewer that went viral. "I watched a new streamer's live stream today. This is the dinner set I bought from her." The reviewer was a chubby man who was obviously a food enthusiast. His fans all called him Fat Bro. Fat Bro's livestream equipment was the most advanced at the moment. After activating vision, hearing, smell, taste, touch and other senses, the audience felt as if they were there. They could feel the temperature of the food and they could also pick it up and taste it. Although it was just virtual data, it allowed viewers to taste different delicacies for free. Hence, it was highly sought after by civilians and dieters. Fat Bro first introduced the content. Scrambled eggs with tomatoes, fried pork with apricot abalone and mushrooms, vinegar baby cabbage, a sandwich, a 5-grain rice and a complimentary seaweed egg soup. The total cost is $999. A large number of people immediately complained in the real-time bullet screen. $999 for a meal? Why doesn't that streamer go rob people with a gunny sack? Fat bro, you've been scammed. What kind of black-hearted streamer is she? She charged $999 for this? The last time I ate at a restaurant with a 3-star chef, it was probably the same price. There's also the bonus of the environment and service. I personally feel that it's not worth it to order takeout at such an expensive price. Fat bro opened the food storage box to see that the food inside was still steaming hot, as if it had just been scooped out of a pot. There was a moment of silence. All the viewers who had activated the shared 5 senses were captivated by this wonderful aroma. They couldn't wait to take a bite, and the taste instantly invaded everyone's taste buds. The scrambled eggs with tomatoes were sweet and sour, the fried pork with apricot abalone and mushrooms were salty and fragrant, the vinegar baby cabbage was sour and spicy, the sandwiches were rich in texture, and the egg soup was refreshing. Fat bro froze on the spot and stared at the table of dishes in disbelief. They clearly looked like ordinary home-cooked dishes, but the taste. How could they be so delicious? He swore that he had never eaten such delicious food. The fans' comments immediately changed. F***CK. This money is so well spent. I've already prepared the star dollars. When is the streamer going to rob me with a gunny sack? Fat bro, eat slower. We won't have anything to eat after you finish eating. This meal was finished by Brother Fatty like a whirlwind. He said to the camera in a serious manner, I've also eaten the dishes of several 5-star chefs in the Alliance. To be honest, they are very exquisite, very powerful, and very delicious. But the dishes made by this streamer really have a different feeling. If I must describe it, it would probably be warm, beautiful, blissful, and complete. The corners of his eyes were slightly moist. After being reminded by his fans, he wiped his eyes with a tissue. It's so delicious I'm crying. I'm not lying to you. This review video went viral first. Everyone traced it back to Xianxia's live stream and watched the 1-hour replay. At first, everyone thought that no matter how delicious the food was, it would be tiring to watch him cook for an hour. And then what? Why did he finish it again? No, one more time. How did the video loop function work? The click-through rate of the replay increased steadily, reaching a terrifying number. And because of this, Xianxia became famous. Due to the phenomenal popularity of Xianxia, the higher-ups of Alliance Broadcasting began to consider whether or not to sign her. On the other side, Nanqing Private Hospital. Chapter 798. It was dusk again. It was very similar to the twilight 2 days ago. The young girl on the hospital bed was slender and weak. Her face was pale and her curly eyelashes were fluttering, casting a faint shadow on her face. Good that you're awake, good that you're awake. Xianxia burst into tears as he and Madame Xiang each grabbed one of Xianxia's hands. The young girl was very obedient and she stole a glance at the tall figures beside the hospital bed with fear in the depths of her eyes. She had already woken up a few hours ago and the first person she saw when she opened her eyes was Shui. He was the man she wanted to get back when she was forced to leave Xianxia's body. Their gazes met. How should I describe the look in his eyes? His gaze was ruthless, sharp, and malicious. Yi felt a lingering fear at the thought of it. She knew that he must have seen through her. The shock and the weakness from the soul swap made her pass out again. She only woke up a few minutes ago. When she woke up, she was accompanied by the annoying old man and woman, as well as a few fools who had been fooled by her in the past year. However, I'm finally back. The corners of Yi's lips curled up slightly. Of course, she knew that the thief in the slums had a better life than the rich and beautiful girl. Why should I be born in the slums? On the other hand, Xianxia enjoyed a luxurious environment and the love of her family. She didn't have to worry about making a living and lived a life like the little princess. Xianxia had already enjoyed a lot. Now it was her turn. Having learned her lesson from the previous soul swap, Yi chose to put on a pretense this time. She pretended to be pretentious and said, "Grandpa, Grandma, I've made you guys worry? I'm fine now." Hearing her words, Xianxia and Madame Xiang frowned in unison. She clearly had the same face, the same voice and the same person, but why did she give them an unfamiliar feeling? However, their doubts were soon replaced by worry. Xianxia said in an amiable tone as if he was coaxing a child, "Little bunny, Grandpa will cook for you. I'll make your favorite seafood porridge, okay?" "Thank you, Grandpa. You're the best." Xianxia usually liked to hear his granddaughter call him Grandpa sweetly, but for some reason he didn't feel any emotions at this moment. He didn't think too much about it and got up to cook for Xianxia. Madame Xiang followed him, but when she reached the door she turned back and gave Xianxia a deep look. After Madame Xiang left, Xiangli found an excuse to send Xiangfeng away. It wasn't that she didn't trust little uncle, but she was worried that his IQ wouldn't allow him to understand such a complicated matter. Yi's pulse quickened. She clutched the blanket uneasily and forced a smile. Big brother, second brother, third brother, fourth brother? Third brother, Xianxia said angrily. Shut up. Why didn't you think before you called us that? Do you even deserve to call us brothers? Everyone in the Xiang clan, including Shi Sui, already knew that the Xiangyi in front of them wasn't the real Xiangyi. Yi said with an aggrieved expression, Brother, if you don't like it, I won't call you that. Xiangli touched his chin and said thoughtfully, Tisk, you've evolved. This time, you've actually learned to pretend to be obedient and pitiful. Yi was speechless. Why did he use the word, evolved? Only low-level creatures like insects need to evolve. It's as if he's deliberately humiliating me. Xiangli guessed what she was thinking and chuckled, but his smile was cold and unfeeling. Xiangyu was much more straightforward. The hot-tempered esports player immediately lashed out. Don't call me brother, it's disgusting. Chapter 799. Xiangqi chimed in, that's right. Disgusting. Although Xiangli didn't say anything harsh, the man who had always been as gentle as the spring breeze had a look of disgust in his eyes. Sanction spoke indifferently, but he went straight to the point. Where did you take my sister? The man's features were clear, like a pine tree on a distant snowy mountain, covered in snow. Yi pretended to be innocent. I'm your sister. Brother, you're so cruel. How could you not recognize me? Sanction took a deep breath, the veins on his forehead bulging. Don't use my sister's face to act. Yi had taken over Xiang Yi's body and naturally knew that he was the Xiang family's demon king. She couldn't help but tremble, but she resisted Sanction's powerful aura. I'm really your sister. Believe me. She couldn't admit it. Even if she exposed herself, she couldn't admit it. She knew the personalities of her brothers in the Xiang family. They were all arrogant, and although they said harsh words, they wouldn't cause any real harm to her. As long as she could drag things out long enough, they wouldn't be able to do anything to her. She could still live a life like she had in the past year, spending money whenever she wanted and picking up men whenever she wanted. However, she seemed to have overlooked the existence of one person. Shi Sui stood by the window. His figure was tall and slender, and his handsome face was uniquely favored by the Creator. Every inch of his face was impeccable. The white shirt he was wearing was already a little wrinkled, and the top few buttons were all undone, revealing a piece of his cold white skin. Half of his collarbone was faintly discernible, and his Adam's apple was clear, rising and falling as he spoke. Sorry, can I speak to her alone for a while? What are you doing? Shi Sui, wake up. This woman isn't my sister. Don't tell me you still have some improper thoughts about her? Xiangqi was furious. Xiangyu stared straight at Shi Sui, as if he would beat Shi Sui up if she dared to admit it. Shi Sui said calmly, it shouldn't take too long. Xiangli and Sanction looked at each other. The two of them communicated with their eyes and Sanction said, all of you follow me. Xiangqi was unconvinced. But what if? Tutu believes in him. Xiang Li's words successfully shut Xiangqi up. That's right, this was his sister's boyfriend, someone she trusted. The four brothers went out, leaving only Shi Sui and Yi in the ward. Shi Sui was not in a hurry to interrogate him. Instead, he picked up the kettle, stood in front of the bedside table, and slowly poured water into an empty cup. Yi was perturbed as she listened to the sound of splashing water. She was inexplicably nervous. She quietly observed Shi Sui. The man's back was against the light, and his entire body was immersed in an ink-like shadow. The muscles on her forearms were smooth, and her hands were perfect like a work of art. Even the way she poured the water was noble, proud, and seductive. The cup was full. Yi said in a coquettish voice, thank you, little brother. She used the excuse of getting the water as an excuse to hook Shi Sui's sleeve through her thin shirt. The next second, caught off guard, her neck was strangled by a pair of large hands. Yi's eyes were filled with horror. The man's casual voice sounded in her ears. The water is for her. Even if Xiangyi wouldn't be back for a while. Shi Sui gradually increased his strength. His expression was languid and lazy. His peach blossom eyes were affectionate when they looked up, but they were incomparably cold when they looked down. He smiled slightly, paranoid and sick. If you don't want to die, you'd better tell me everything you know, okay? Chapter 800. Breathing became more and more difficult. The pain became more and more clear. Yi tried to pry off Shi Sui's hand, but found that the difference in strength was too great. She couldn't move him at all. She never thought that she would fall into such a desperate situation on the first day after her soul was swapped. In a flash Yi thought it through. Although she wasn't smart, she grew up in the slums, so she was very observant. No, this man couldn't really kill her. Those idiots from the Xiang family wouldn't just sit by and watch. Her idea was simple and straightforward, and it did work. Sure enough, the second before she suffocated, Shui let go of her. She made the right bet. Yi felt like she had just been reborn. She gasped for breath, mixed with violent coughs. When she finally calmed down, she looked at Shui with tears in her eyes, trying to arouse his sympathy. However, the man still looked noble and languid. He slowly buttoned up his shirt and spoke in a gentle tone, as if he was chatting about daily life. You guessed right. This body is hers. I won't hurt it at all. Yi's little secret joy disappeared in the blink of an eye. Her heart skipped a beat. She suddenly panicked. I will lock you in a sealed space. There won't be any other living creatures except you. There won't be any communication. There won't be any light, no sound, and you won't be able to feel the passage of time. His low and hoarse voice was very seductive, but he said the most paranoid and morbid words. Yi's pupils dilated. She held her breath. The most frightening thing was not death. It was living a life worse than death. She could imagine that if she was locked in there she would go crazy. I don't want to. Yi couldn't hold it in. She tried to get out of bed and find those idiots from the Xiang family. At least they wouldn't do this to her. Shui easily pushed her back onto the bed. He used so much strength that her shoulders almost shattered. He lifted the girl's delicate chin and gently rubbed it with his fingers. Yi couldn't help but tremble. It shouldn't be difficult to convince Xianxia and the others. He was so gentle, but he was so cruel. The oppressive atmosphere, the quiet environment, and the fear of the unknown overwhelmed Yi. She broke down and screamed, I'll talk. An hour later, Yi was sobbing. The private room was surrounded by bodyguards, and no one paid any attention to her. What she did not know was that the moment Xianxia left the ward, Shui had already dialed Xianxia's number. Xianxia and his brothers had overheard the entire conversation between her and Shui. In the VIP room, Xiangli went back and forth, playing a few key points of the recording. The first time I swapped souls was because I received a fast transmigration mission. In my world there were fast transmigrators who shared their experiences. I don't want to transmigrate so quickly. I've heard that I'll have to endure hardships, suffer all kinds of torture, experience scheming against each other, be separated by life and death, and battle and war. I consulted that fast transmigrator and he told me a solution. I just need to match a soul with a high similarity and let someone else take my place. The second time I swapped souls was because I downloaded a virus from the Transmigrator forum in the alternate world and cracked the program to match souls. This way I can still swap souls without a fast transmigration mission, but the program has already self-destructed. She can't come back. At least, it's impossible with the technology of this world unless a miracle happens. Chapter 801. Xiangyu clenched his fists tightly. Xiangqi was so angry that he kicked over the trash can. F***ck, she doesn't want to suffer, so she's making my sister suffer. I'm giving her face. I'll beat her to death. Xiangli glanced at him. Calm down, the body belongs to Tutu. Xiangqi immediately quieted down. Xiangli concluded, according to the known information, the soul swap is one way at present. In other words, we can't do it here. We can only wait for Tutu to find a way to do it on the other side. Of course, we can't not believe Yi's words completely. Next, we'll continue to sound her out and see if there are any other clues. Also, I'll find a hypnotist to see if there are any other answers after hypnosis. We'll do as you say. Xianxia rubbed his forehead and looked at Shui. What do you think? Shui's aura was gone and he looked a little dejected. His slender and fair fingers rested between his eyebrows and his voice was extremely hoarse. Bring Xiao Naofu here. Interstellar world. Xiangyi carefully made a series of plans for herself, including short-term, medium-term and long-term goals. She even prepared for the worst. After barely sleeping for 3 hours, Xiangyi sat up with a blanket draped over her body and continued to write programs on the optical computer. For some reason, Yi's browsing history was all gone. The optical computer was clean as if it had never been used. Fortunately, Xiangyi had traveled through a similar dimension before and knew a little about programming. She speculated that the data in Yi's optical computer was probably formatted by a self-destruct program. She tried to write a program to restore the data. Perhaps there was a way to go home. A few hours later, the initial version of the recovery program was born. Xiangyi tried to run it. Unfortunately, there was probably a problem with the program and the optical computer directly froze. Fortunately, after rebooting, a small part of the data was restored. After opening it, it was all garbled. Xianxia had a headache. She searched and came up with a conclusion. To put it simply, everyone in the alliance was using smartphones, but she was still using a mobile phone. After checking the price of the latest version of the optical computer, Xianxia sighed. It seemed that he still had to think of a way to earn money. Star City in a certain luxurious villa. The nouveau riche fan who appeared in Xianxi's live stream, Yun Zhongyue, whose real name was Fu Yunyue, looked at her brother with hidden bitterness. Galaxy Fleet Commander. The youngest champion of the Mecha Galaxy tournament. He was the strongest person in the alliance. Fu Zichuan. The man wore glasses and was casually flipping through a paper newspaper. Fu Yunyue complained softly, so old-fashioned. Who still uses paper things these days? Fu Zichuan was unmoved. Fu Yunyue said aggrievedly, you ate all the food I bought. That's enough for 4 people. You didn't even leave a bite for me. The story started with the express delivery she received at noon. It was a meal personally cooked by a streamer called Tutu. As someone who needed a sense of ceremony when eating, she went upstairs to change into a beautiful dress and even permed her hair. She was prepared to take photos from many angles without any blind spots. In the end, when she went downstairs, the food was already gone. Her brother had eaten it. It was all eaten. Fu Zichuan was expressionless. I've already apologized to you. I won't forgive you. Unless you can invite that Tutu to be our chef. Before she finished speaking, Fu Zichuan's communicator rang. He glanced at it and frowned. Are you talking about her? She was just wanted. Chapter 802. Xianxia was contemplating whether to continue with her DIY kitchen or purchase a set of kitchen utensils for her live stream when the doorbell rang. She opened the door. In the dark and narrow corridor, 2 tall robots were standing there, coldly showing her the information of the Guardian of Order, as well as a wanted poster. Miss, you are under arrest. Half an hour later at the Guardian of Order. Xianxia looked at the small window of the detention room, feeling very complicated. The notification from the robots just now echoed in her mind. Name: age 20. Crime: theft. That's right, he was a thief. And a repeat offender. This wasn't the first time she had entered the Guardian of Order. However, the amount of money she was involved in was relatively small. The most she had been involved in was 2 months. This time, she was involved in the large-scale optical computer theft case 0609. The estimated sentence was 10 years. The girl closed her eyes and told herself to stay calm. Even if she was really locked up for 10 years, she had to live well. Because there were still people waiting for her at home. Suddenly, a few figures walked over from outside the alloy fence. They were humans. Xianxia blinked and looked at them in confusion. Is it her? It should be, she looks quite similar. What are you talking about? Who is she? You don't even know? That live stream that suddenly became popular on the interplanetary network. Her cooking video has more than 1 billion views. Xianxia understood. These people were treating her like a monkey in the zoo? They first discussed Xianxia's popularity on the interplanetary network, then looked at her crime and couldn't help but sigh. It's a pity she's just an accessory. She's quite pretty and she's so popular. It's a pity to be locked up for 10 years. I wonder if she signed a contract with the Alliance. Maybe someone is willing to pay a sky-high deposit and bail her out. But how is that possible? Xianxia, gossip was indeed human nature, even in the interplanetary era. Suddenly their communicators rang. After reading the content, they looked at each other in dismay. Oh little girl, there really is someone who bailed you out. Soon the door of the detention room opened. Xianxia followed the gossip team outside to handle the procedures. When they were signing the papers, it was as if they were performing a crosstalk. Your luck is too good. The one who bailed you out is the boss of the 0609 large-scale optical computer theft case. He happens to be your fan and he even bought your food. Speaking of which, you have to thank him for your popularity. He was the one who posted the review video first. Alright, his name is Fat Bro. You have to thank him properly later. Xianxia listened obediently and did not say anything. After the procedures were completed, the gossip team returned Xianxia's optical computer and personal belongings. Someone even gave her 2 candies. He didn't know why, but although this little girl was a habitual thief in the slums, he just couldn't hate her. Thank you, Xianxia thanked him and stepped out of the Order Guardian. Behind him, the gossip team received another piece of news. What? The Alliance also bailed her out? There's actually a big shot who bailed her out. Fu family? Good fellow, let's go for a drink after work today and have a good chat. Chapter 803. It was already late at night. This city seemed to have never needed to worry about energy. Bright lights were everywhere, as if they had formed a dense net of light. There was wind blowing, but it didn't feel cold. The temperature of the city was artificially adjusted to a constant temperature. When Xianxia went out, a fat man came up to her. Yi. Xianxia took 2 seconds to react before she realized that he was calling her. She remained cautious and nodded. Or should I call you Tutu? The fat man laughed. I didn't expect us to have such fate. The world is really small. Xianxia thanked him politely. Thank you for bailing me out. The fat man raised his eyebrows, feeling that the money wasn't wasted. This little girl wasn't incurable. When she spoke, she was gentle and polite. When she listened, she quietly looked into the other person's eyes. Her good points overshadowed her bad points, so much so that the fat man felt that her stealing was pardonable. After all, it wasn't easy for a girl in the slums to survive. He gestured towards Xianxia. Let's go to my hover car first. Xianxia didn't move. The fat man laughed. Still on guard against me? Fine, it's good for a girl to be cautious. Then I'll make it short. I watched your live broadcast and tasted your food. It's not bad. I won't pursue the matter of you stealing and bailing me out. How about it? Can you trust me now? Condition. A clear and calm voice. There was a hint of admiration in the fat brother's eyes. It's very simple. You can work for me as my chef, or you can use your culinary skills to promote my restaurant. In short, you just have to create something of equal value. Xianxia understood. Okay, I understand. Then starting tomorrow morning, send me food. The fat man casually threw her a transparent chip. If you want to buy ingredients, just use it to pay. Don't save. The optical computer flashed. He didn't avoid Xianxia and directly connected to the video call. After chatting with the person on the other side for a while, his face turned sour. His optical computer store was the largest in Star City, but recently, a competitor had appeared. That competitor had gone on a crazy expansion model, snatching away a lot of his business. Tomorrow, a competitor was going to open a new store next to his store. Moreover, they had released news that a certain popular model of optical computer would be given an unprecedented discount. As soon as the news was released, there were already people lining up overnight. So, how can I attract people over? Do I have to fight a price war too? The more Fat Bro thought about it, the more worried he became. Once the price war started, it would be a fight to the death. Both sides would suffer. The more he sold, the more he would lose. If it's to attract people, perhaps I can give it a try. The girl's clear and steady voice sounded in his ears. Brother Fatty was stunned. What can you do? Livestream cooking? His eyes lit up. With her influence on the interplanetary network, it might actually work. Xianxia replied with 2 words, it smells good. Fat Bro, oh? Can you be more specific? Xianxia thought for a moment. For example, your impression of scrambled eggs with tomatoes is that it's sweet and sour. When the sweet and sour smell expands, you'll associate it with food. The most direct feeling is, I know. With rice. Brother Fatty rushed to answer. That's pretty much it. If you use the aroma of food to attract people, it might have the effect of attracting them. Chapter 804. Xianxia briefly explained her thoughts. Fat Bro slapped his thigh and got someone to publicize it on the spot. Hence, on the Star Sector network, anyone who had followed Fat Bro's shop or bought goods received a push message. Fat Bro Technology V. There will be a small event tomorrow. Anyone who enters the shop will get a free snack. PS. It's comparable to the delicacies made by a 3-star chef. Regarding this, the netizens' reaction was, just this? Come on, Feynman's shop is offering a full discount. A genuine discount can save you star coins. Isn't it much better than your snacks? Besides, if it's comparable to a 3-star chef, it probably means that this chef hasn't even obtained a 3-star honor badge. How much would the snacks made by such a chef be worth? Only a fool would choose Fat Bro's shop. However, there were also people who found a way to take advantage of it. They could first get free snacks from Fat Bro's shop, then go to Feynman's shop to buy an optical computer. They could enjoy the snacks and the discount. Wouldn't that be perfect? Once this point of view was posted, it received many likes from the netizens. Look, this is too quick-witted. We'll do this tomorrow. The next morning. As the boss of the new shop, Feynman specially invited celebrities and dignitaries to cut the ribbon. In order to sell the snacks that Fat Bro mentioned, he specially invited a 4-star chef to make desserts on the spot and give them away for free. Although the cost of hiring this 4-star chef exceeded his budget, as long as he could attract more customers, it was only a matter of time before he earned back the money. Feynman instructed the staff to adjust the position of the flower baskets at the entrance and glanced at Fat Bro's shop next door. He saw a hover car stop at the entrance. A transport robot went up and down, moving the things down from the car. Feynman almost laughed out loud. Oh my god, Fat Bro is too old-fashioned. Surprisingly, they were using charcoal and a huge iron pot. The iron pot was so heavy that the robot's mechanical arm was bent. However, it was tightly covered and no one knew what was inside. This kind of primitive kitchen utensil was only used on the most barren planets and the most backward civilizations. His staff couldn't help but laugh out loud. Isn't this the kind of iron pot that's placed in museums? Is Brother Fatty at his wit's end? To actually use such outdated kitchen utensils. Which chef would use this kind of charcoal and iron pot? How many generations have passed since the invention of thermal energy? Can you really cook with this kind of charcoal? Feynman said hypocritically, all right, go and clean up. The ribbon-cutting ceremony is about to begin. A few minutes later, the MC said, it's time, Mr. Feynman. Just follow the established procedure, Feynman reminded. Turn on the live stream. Understood. The MC turned his head, and the moment the live broadcast started, his face was full of smiles. Today is the opening of Mr. Feynman's 66th branch. Thank you, dear guests and friends, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come to our site. Gulp. The loud swallowing sound spread to the ears of every spectator in the live broadcast room in an instant. Feynman's expression changed slightly. What kind of crappy MC was this? He was too unprofessional. Damn it, what was this smell? It was as if a spell had been cast on the crowd as they all turned to look in the same direction. Even the livestream camera ball automatically changed its lens and shot from a different angle. What came into view was the side profile of a peerlessly beautiful face. Chapter 805. The charcoal fire had been lit at some point, and since it was smokeless charcoal, it wasn't choking at all. The girl's slender and fair fingers unhurriedly lifted the lid of the large iron pot. The iron pot conducted heat quickly and had a large surface area. She quickly heated up the ingredients inside, and by this time, it was already bubbling. That alluring aroma was coming from the pot. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the girl fished out a piece of beef from the pot and placed it on the shore. She then sliced the beef into thin slices and placed them on a small plate. She then sprinkled chopped green onions on top and decorated it slightly. The beef had been braised just right, and its color was a beautiful brownish yellow. The grease had a layer of luster, and under the morning sun, it was steaming hot, drawing out everyone's gluttony. Gulp! The sound of saliva being swallowed could be heard one after another. The viewers in the livestream were going crazy. Feynman naturally used the best livestream camera ball for the livestream. Not only could it share the viewers' 5 senses, but the data was also the most realistic in the market. There were already viewers who couldn't wait to pick up a piece of braised beef and stuff it into their mouths. The rich fragrance of the sauce spread on the tip of their tongues, and the texture was chewy. The freshly scooped beef was still wrapped in some gravy, and as they chewed, the taste was even more wonderful. Oh my god, this is too delicious. I strongly condemn Fat Brother for his false promotion. How is this a 3-star chef? He's a 5-star chef. Dear friends, I suggest you go straight to that iron pot to get the food. There's still a lot of food. It's just a little hot, remember to blow on it? Ha, did you just find out? I've already eaten it a long time ago. A mouthful of braised food and a sip of happy water. The viewers in the live stream had at least tasted the virtual data. Only then did the people at the scene truly feel the torture. This feeling of seeing but not being able to eat was really too torturous. The passerby who was about to enter Feynman's shop hesitated for a moment before stepping forward and asking, "Excuse me, do we get a free snack as long as we enter the shop?" Xianxia nodded and asked, "Yes, what do you want to eat?" "There's beef, duck neck, duck wings, lotus root, dried tofu, mushrooms." The girl listed a series of dishes and the passerby almost drooled. "Beef then." He made a difficult choice. Xianxia handed the small plate to him. "Try it and see if it's to your liking. If you like spicy food, you can pour some chili oil on it." There were several large wooden bowls on the table. In addition to chili oil, there were also ginger vinegar, soy sauce, sesame oil, sesame paste, peanut butter, and other condiments. The passerby wanted to give it a try. He scooped up a spoonful of chili oil and poured it over a piece of beef. That chili oil was bright red and fragrant. Together with the beef slices, it looked a lot better, and it was even better when it was in his mouth. The sensations of numbness, spiciness, and fragrance deeply stimulated his taste buds and then transmitted to his central nervous system. His mind was blank and there was only one feeling: so delicious. He only needed one mouthful to fall into the enemy's hands. The passerby couldn't wait any longer. If I buy an optical computer, can I have a portion of each ingredient? Platter? Sure. Xianxia agreed, not because she was generous. In fact, the ingredients themselves did not cost much. Besides, she and Fat Bro had already considered this situation yesterday. The passerby was overjoyed as if he had gotten a huge bargain. Without even looking at Feynman's new shop, he shouted, "Give me a platter." Ahem, give me an X721 optical computer. Chapter 806. Feynman was speechless. Hey, wake up, our shop is offering discounts. An optical computer can save at least a few $100. How much can a snack be worth? However, with the first person taking the lead, countless people flocked to the stall. I want a serving of duck wings. Miss, I want lotus roots. Give me an optical computer. No, a platter. Xianxi's snack stall was soon surrounded. Fortunately, she had already considered the problem of the flow of customers and calmly let a few housework robots take over while she quietly retreated to the side to continue braising. Fat Bro stood at the door, smiling so widely that his eyes narrowed into slits. In just a few minutes, his shop had already sold more than a dozen optical computers. This was even when Feynman's new shop was about to open and there was a super low discount. On the other side, Feynman's face was even darker than the bottom of the pot of braising. He forced himself to remain calm and carried out the ribbon-cutting ceremony. However, the viewers in the livestream were no longer thinking about how low the discount would be in his shop, but, "Miss, please join my livestream. Isn't she the tutu who has been trending all over the internet in the past 2 days? Why can't I find her livestream? Alliance livestream is getting beaten up. Why hasn't such an outstanding streamer signed a contract?" In fact, the higher-ups of the Alliance livestream were also worried to death. They had sent private messages to Tutu's livestream account, but 2 days had passed and she still hadn't replied. Her account status also showed that she hadn't logged in. It wasn't that they didn't want to sign a contract, but rather Tutu didn't care about them at all. Seeing that she had attracted a lot of attention from netizens after catching a glimpse of her in Feynman's livestream today, the higher-ups held a meeting and made a decision. They immediately asked the staff to rush to the scene and sign an offline contract with Tutu. As long as her request wasn't too much, they would consider giving her a B-grade or A-grade contract. At the same time, after the ribbon-cutting ceremony for Feynman's shop, he also announced the discounts on several popular models of optical computers. Most of them were 40% or 30% off, and the cheapest model was actually 30% off. It was a sky-high price. All of a sudden, the sales of Feynman's shop increased greatly. However, the expected crushing situation did not happen. On the contrary, the traffic at Fat Bro's shop was much higher than his. Although a portion of the people went in for the free snacks, 2/3 of them actually chose to buy an optical computer for the sake of the platter. In the past, it had always been a small gift for buying an optical computer. Why did it become a small gift for buying an optical computer? Was this the power of food? No. This was not marketing at all. Feynman was unwilling to give up. She asked her assistant to sneak into Brother Fatty's shop and wander around. She brought back a portion of Xianxi's braised food. Beef was the most popular dish. The first pot had already been distributed, and the assistant had asked for a braised egg for him. Any housework robot could make a braised egg. But this braised egg was different from the one made by the preset program. Its exterior was smooth and when one bit into it, it was chewy and full of flavor. Whether it was the heat or the timing, it was just right. It could be said to be a perfectly braised egg. Especially the egg yolk, it was soft and salty. Even someone like Feynman, who didn't like to eat egg yolks, almost wolfed down this egg. He wasn't done yet. A strong impulse arose in Feynman's heart. Without thinking, she said, "Go buy an optical computer and get a platter." Chapter 807. The assistant took out a plate of steaming braised food from behind him and smiled awkwardly. "I've already bought it." Feynman was confused. He was about to take the plate when he saw the loyal assistant move away and say righteously, "Boss, this is mine. If you want to eat it, I'll buy another set for you?" Feynman was confused. The relationship between the boss and subordinate broke on the spot. Xianxi's braised food tactic had an unexpected effect. Originally, she only wanted to use the fragrance of the food to attract the attention of the passers-by and draw them to the shop. Unexpectedly, the focus of everyone's attention was no longer on whose optical computer had a lower discount and whose price was cheaper. Instead, it was Xianxi's pot of braised food that was about to be sold out. Xianxia had prepared a total of 3 pots of ingredients, but she still couldn't resist the enthusiasm of the customers. It had only been 2 hours, but the braised food was about to be sold out. What she prepared were all semi-finished products. They just needed to be heated. If they were to be braised, it wouldn't be as tasty. Fat Bro was already very satisfied with this result. After all, today's sales were higher than the total sales for the past month. Alright, Miss Yi, you've already proven your value. Happy cooperation. The bail money was too worth it. Xianxia, the braised food is almost finished. We can start the barbecue now. Fat Bro, huh? The young girl blinked, and her small face instantly became lively and cunning. I've made 2 preparations. After saying that, she used the optical computer to give orders. A few cute robots immediately carried out a stone slab, moved away the big iron pot of braised food and placed the stone slab on it. Xianxia brushed a layer of oil on the stone slab, then picked up the thin slices of pork belly and placed them on the stone slab. Sizzle, the unique sound of barbecue was like a cat's paw scratching, seducing the hearts of everyone present. Xianxia then placed the marinated lamb with pickled peppers, New Orleans chicken wings, secret butter, green peppers, eggplant, potato slices and bread slices. When the passers-by heard the sound and smelled the smell, they were all about to cry. Feynman? He was going crazy. Why? Where did this woman come from? Was she a hidden royal chef? Brother Fatty was overjoyed. Bailing out E was definitely the best thing he had ever done in his life. The killing power of this barbecue was even greater than that of the braised food. The aroma drifted far and wide, attracting more and more people to stop and watch. Everyone had the mentality of strolling around and eating for free. However, when they walked out of the shop, each of them had an extra set of barbecue meals in their hands. Oh right, I almost forgot, I also bought a new optical computer. At this time, a hover car stopped in the air. Several men and women in suits and leather shoes, looking like elites, locked onto Xianxia's position. South City, Private Ward. E was tired from crying and her mind began to work quickly. She couldn't be controlled by others, she had to take the initiative to attack. After rummaging through the cabinets, she found Xianxia's phone. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. A few minutes later, the Spicy Tutu fans saw that their sister E had shared a link to the livestream. Xianxia V, did you miss me? Come and chat with the babes, _. The Spicy Tutu fans were so excited that they all rushed into the livestream. The girl on the screen had an exaggerated beauty lens and at this time she looked shocked. When did she become so popular? Why did millions of people watch her live stream? Chapter 808. E fiddled with her cell phone and finally noticed that the number of fans on Xianxia's Weibo account had increased by several times compared to before she left. It had now reached more than 20 million fans. She didn't expect Xianxia to clean up the mess that she had created in the entertainment industry and even become so popular now. There must be a lot of people who like her. At the thought of this, E suppressed the ecstasy in her heart and pretentiously brushed her hair in front of the camera before greeting her fans in a coquettish voice. Hello, everyone, I'm your favorite E. In the live stream, the Spicy Tutu fans suddenly felt a strong sense of dissonance. Who are you? Did Sister E lose the game of truth or dare? You're not Xianxia, are you? Where did this AI face-changing monster come from? Did you steal Sister Yi's account? E was a little dumbfounded. How did this happen? I only said one sentence. How can these people tell that I'm different from Xianxia? Little did they know that Two Under One Roof, which Xianxia was participating in, was a live-streamed variety show. The fans watched Xianxia's every move every day, and their understanding of the little girl was no less than that of their friends in real life. Of course, there were also fans who were more tolerant and felt that Xianxia might be joking with them. They even spammed comments such as, Sister E is so cute when she's coquettish. That made E feel smug again. She made up her mind and said shamelessly, I'm Xianxia. I'll be sad if you say that, anyway it would be useless even if they caught her for scientific research. Her body was Xianxia's body. Although the Spicy Tutu fans were suspicious, they were still worried about Xianxia's health. Hence, they began to ask about her condition. Yi chatted with the Spicy Tutu fans casually. I'm fine now, yeah, thank you for your concern. Wow, you even sent me gifts. Why are you all spamming Shui's name? I don't think he's a good person at all. He's so fierce and cold. What group favorite? You guys don't know how badly my brothers treat me. They actually locked me up. So, he won't let me leave this ward. In the lounge, Xianxia and the others received the news as soon as E started streaming. Seeing her artificial appearance in the live broadcast room, Xiangyu frowned and felt very uncomfortable. This woman, in the past year he hadn't been able to tell. Loneliness appeared in the eyes of the young esports god. In the end, it was because he cared too little for his sister. Xianxia retched. I can't take it anymore. I can't stand this thing saying these things with a bunny's face. I'll go get my phone back. Xiangli said, calm down. Xianxia, you can tolerate it but I can't. Old for, let's go and take care of it. Xiangyu silently rolled up his sleeves. Sit down. As soon as the cold and steady voice sounded, the lounge suddenly fell silent. Xianxia and Xiangyu snuggled together timidly, thinking that they must hide behind each other when they get beaten up later. Xiangli explained, there's a saying that you won't die if you don't ask for it. If you don't experience a beating, you won't know what despair is. The three of us have already arranged everything. Xiangxia, ? Xiangyu, ? So, are we being looked down upon for our intelligence? Isn't that right? On the side, Shui, who had quit smoking for a long time, tapped his cigarette box lightly and took out several cigarettes. His voice was very hoarse and filled with hostility. What it owes Bunny, it must return 100 times over. Chapter 809. In the ward, E was still complaining and pretending to be miserable, hoping that she could live a better life through the support of public opinion. What she wanted was not to be locked up in this small ward for the rest of her life. Instead, she wanted to go shopping, flirt with handsome boys, and enjoy the attention and love of others. However, E did not get the effect she wanted. Not only did no one sympathize with her, but more people began to suspect her instead. I've cracked the case. This Sister E is a fake, please call me a famous detective. Our Sister E is such a gentle person, she wouldn't be so full of negative energy. I really suspect that this Sister E is a fake. First of all, she doesn't even know that Shui is her boyfriend. Secondly, do you think it's possible that her brothers bullied her? Of course, I believe that they bullied her uncle. Seeing that the public opinion was leaning towards her, E suddenly panicked. In the past, these idiotic netizens would clearly believe what she said. Why did things become like this now? E lifted the blanket and was forced to prove that she had been abused. I'm not lying to you. I've been imprisoned. There are bodyguards outside. She pulled open the door of the ward abruptly and looked at the camera. Did you see that? They're restricting my freedom. In the next second, what she heard was not the bodyguard's cold reprimand, but the bodyguard's respectful voice. Miss, is there anything I can help you with? E turned her head and looked out of the door in disbelief. Only 2 bodyguards were left behind, and they were female bodyguards who were specially hired. In addition, there was a maid and a chauffeur standing guard outside the door. The maid asked, Miss, do you want to go to the hot spring? There are hot springs in the rehabilitation area of this hospital, and the gentlemen have already ordered the best ginseng soup for you. The chauffeur asked, Miss, do you want to go shopping? Although the shopping malls are about to close at this time, we can still go shopping if we go to our own mall. E stumbled and said, No, it wasn't like that just now. She looked at the screen to see that the comments were full of doubts. You can't lie like that. I'm speechless. Haha, what a joke. You call this imprisonment? Then I beg you to lock me up as well. You're a fake, Xianxia. Where did you come from? Go back to where you came from. Seeing you annoys me. What he enjoyed the most was being pursued by others. The hardest thing to accept was the criticism of others. She was not as mentally strong as Xianxia. Yi hurriedly turned off the live stream. She felt uncomfortable all over when she saw those comments. Why were they all scolding her? She only wanted to pursue her own happiness. What was wrong with that? Take me to the hot spring. Yi said tiredly. However, the maid snorted coldly, Are you worthy? Yi? She was surprised by his 2 faces. Do you know who I am? I'm Xianxia. Young miss of the Xiang family, a mere maid like you dares to speak to me like this. Do you believe that I will ask my brother to expel you and make you live a life worse than death? The maid mocked. She had no makeup on, but it was hard to hide her beauty. You? Ha, you're just a pheasant occupying a magpie's nest. Do you really think you're a phoenix? We're here to serve Miss Xianxia, not a fake like you. Li Jianyu, the chauffeur, next to her, secretly gave her a thumbs up. My sister Juan is ruthless and wild. This round of scolding was so satisfying. Chapter 810. Yi's face turned pale. How could this be? How could this be? Why can even a maid sense that I'm not the real Xianxia? The bodyguard also changed his attitude. Miss, please go back. The gentlemen have instructed that you are not to take a single step out of the room. Yi said angrily, Remember this, all of you. I won't let you off. She stormed into the ward and slammed the door shut. Her phone buzzed and vibrated non-stop. She opened it to see that it was full of messages she had received from various apps. Imposter. There will be retribution for stealing accounts. We like Sister E, not an AI face changer like you. There were tens of thousands of pieces of news that covered the sky and covered the earth. E threw her phone away, not daring to look at them again. She covered herself with the blanket, trembling all over. In a daze, E realized that perhaps what she would receive from this soul swap would not be a beautiful life, but hell. In the lounge. What? The livestream is fake? Li Jinyu and Ruan Qing played the maid and the chauffeur? Xianxia was dumbfounded. Next to him, Xiangyu was equally dumbfounded. Sangchen and Shi Sui went to the balcony to smoke. Xiang Li really couldn't stand the two of them muttering about snatching the phone, so he took the time to explain to them. Yes, that phone was deliberately left behind by Shi Sui. There's a small program I wrote in it. Every app she sees is no longer the original one. It can only be used within the hospital and is not connected to the internet at all. Xiangyu asked, in other words, the so-called number of viewers, comments, and gifts were all written by the program? Xiang Li smiled like a spring breeze, but his words were vicious. It's not difficult to write a fake account, right? No way, right? Is there really someone who can't even do this? Xiangqi was speechless. Xiangyu was speechless. I'm still being despised. Xiang Li sighed again. Your IQ is so low. If little uncle were here. I don't dare to think about it. On the side, Xiao Naofu was still typing on the tablet with its little paws as it let out an aggrieved meow. It was too difficult. This group of devils actually made him write down all the details of his transmigration with that stupid woman. His claws were about to break, sob. Hearing this childish cry, Xiangyu couldn't bear it and wanted to pick up Xiao Naofu to coax it, but was stopped by Xiang Li. The big picture is more important. The most important thing now is to get my sister back as soon as possible. Hearing this, Xiangyu suppressed his natural instinct for furry animals and stroked Xiao Naofu's head. Good luck, little baby. Xiao Naofu blinked, and its meaty paws began to type faster. Stupid woman, hurry up and come back. This hoo misses you, meow. Far away in the manor, Xiang Feng sneezed violently. Who's talking about me again? He hugged little Shiji tightly and said with a look of distress, why do you all want me to stay at home? You don't despise me, do you? Little Shiji, woof. Okay. Xiang Feng nodded. Definitely not. They're afraid that I'll be too sad and cry until I faint in front of little Xiangyi's bed. Do you think you can hide this from me? My IQ is online. Little Shiji, okay. As long as you're happy. At the entrance of Fat Bro's shop in Star City. A sea of people was not enough to describe the grand occasion at this moment. Xiangyi sat in a cafe nearby, rubbed her sore wrist and said calmly, sign a contract? Chapter 8:11. The staff of the Alliance's livestream were all wearing exquisite suits and looked like elites. Miss Yi, this is our contract. You can take a look first. The optical computer projected a contract and Xiangyi skimmed through it. The conditions of the contract were very harsh. She had to broadcast for 8 hours a day, and the content had to be about cooking or food-related content. The commission was only 30% instead of 20%. Xiangyi declined. Sorry, I don't have any intention of signing a contract at the moment. Daddy obviously didn't know how to cook. If the two of them switched, Yi wouldn't be able to fulfill the contract and the fans would be disappointed. Xiangyi didn't want to cause trouble for anyone. This was the basic upbringing. The staff looked at each other and revealed an, as expected, expression. It seemed that this tutu was quite scheming. She knew how to reject the offer. In the past few years, they had fooled many streamers into signing the contract and could only become the workers of the Alliance's livestream. If they went back on their word and didn't want to livestream anymore, they would face huge compensation. They were the best at manipulating newbies. Miss Yi, don't be in a hurry to reject us. You can have a good chat with us. Are you not satisfied with any of the terms? We can talk about it again. Our Alliance's livestream isn't open to just anyone. If you miss this precious opportunity, you can only live in the slums for the rest of your life. I'm afraid it'll be too late for regrets. The staff were clearly divided into two groups. One was playing the good cop and the other was playing the bad cop. They had the idea of signing Xiangyi today. Xiangyi expressed her attitude again. Thank you for your hospitality, but I have no intention of making a living from livestream. She was still a tough nut to crack? The staff were a little dissatisfied. They were used to dealing with stupid streamers and had a sense of superiority. Miss Yi, with your current income, you can only live in the charity house in the slums for the rest of your life. I remember that it's only a dozen square meters, right? Don't you want to move to a bigger house or even a villa in the rich district? Miss Yi, according to your previous livestream data, we have made a prediction for you. As long as you serve us well. In between the lines, other than persuasion, there was also a hidden suppression of Xianxia. This method was a little dirty, but wasn't it fine as long as it worked? Before Xianxia could reply, Brother Fatty had already pushed the door open excitedly. Sorry to disturb you. Today's sales have exploded. Just the flow of water alone has already exceeded 100 million. The mouths of the staff of the Alliance's livestream twitched. I'm sorry. I interrupted your serious business. Fat Bro apologized, but in fact he didn't feel sorry at all. He sat down next to Xianxia and glanced at the contract. He smiled and said, you guys, why are you using a B-grade contract to trick a little kid? As far as I know, with E's data, not to mention an A-grade contract, even an S-grade contract is enough, right? The staff member knew that he had met someone who knew the ropes and felt a little embarrassed. Data is data. When we sign a contract, we naturally have to consider some indicators, the leader said arrogantly. Yes, you're right. Fat Bro clicked on his optical computer, and another S-grade contract appeared on the screen. He smiled and said, Empire Live couldn't contact E, so they sent the contract to me. Look, what do these letters say? Oh, it looks like Ace. Chapter 8:12. Empire's S-level contract. The staff's expression changed. The monopoly formed by the Alliance's livestream was only limited to the Alliance's region. However, now that the Alliance and the Empire were facing the Zerg crisis, they had reached a friendly cooperation. Both sides shared resources. Now, the content of the Empire's livestream could also be watched on the Alliance's interplanetary network. The current data was not very good compared to the Alliance's livestream. However, if the traffic in the Empire's region was included, it was actually terrifying. However, these staff members thought that they were knowledgeable and cared about their reputation. Hence, their attitude was still condescending. Alright, to show our sincerity, we can give you an A-level contract. The projection screen flickered and switched to another contract. The treatment of this contract was indeed better. Xianxia was about to speak, but she was stopped by the fat brother with a secret gesture. The fat bro shook his head and said, I didn't expect the people from the Alliance's livestream to be so uncultured. S-level contract is 90% and A-level contract is 50%. It seems that your mathematics was taught by sports robots. Then what do you want? Someone couldn't hold it in and sneered. Miss E is a citizen of the Alliance. She can't live in the Empire. How can it be more convenient than signing with the Alliance's livestream? The fat bro was puzzled. What's so inconvenient about this? Star currency is interconnected and resources are shared. The procedures can be done on the photon computer. Isn't it better to make money? These people were furious. Although their superiors had given them an order to give Xianxia an S-level contract, after all, her potential was indeed quite big. However, did these distinguished elites not care about their reputation? No matter how popular a food streamer was, there was still a ceiling. Instead of wasting time on her, it was better to sign a few streamers with high combat power. Let them hunt Zerg endlessly and contribute to the traffic. Thinking of this, their attitude became even more impatient. Miss E will give you one last chance. You should know what to choose. The fat bro said, Yo, you don't even need to address me respectfully? S-level contract and A-level contract. Of course RE knows what to choose. He just couldn't stand this group of people bullying Xianxia like she was a fool. After all, Xianxia was their store's mascot. The delicious food made by her small hands was even more effective than the manekiniko. The sales of the store increased rapidly. If that's the case, then we have nothing to talk about. However, Miss E, you'd better be mentally prepared. The users of the Empire's livestream are far inferior to our Alliance's livestream. The group of elites walked out arrogantly, but deliberately slowed down their pace. In their hearts, they felt that Xianxia would chase after them. However, not really. The staff members looked at each other with blank expressions. Why was this completely different from what they had imagined? Coffee shop. Bah. They were dressed like humans, but they were all beasts dressed in human clothing. Who are you trying to disgust with a B-grade contract? Fat Bro said with disdain. Xianxia said, Please calm down. I didn't plan to sign the contract anyway. Brother Fat, don't be in such a hurry to reject them. Empire Livestream is quite sincere and is willing to sign a short contract with you. You can sign it 1 month at a time and the benefits are also very good. Xianxia pondered for a moment. Can we sign it day by day? Brother Fat? Young lady, you'll get beaten up easily if you do this. Chapter 8:13. Xianxia smiled. I'm just joking. Hey, why don't you talk to the people from Empire Livestream? They're too good. Ha. A moment later. Several staff members from Empire Livestream sat opposite Xianxia. The scene was familiar, but their attitude was completely different. Missy, this is our contract. Please see if there's anything you're not satisfied with. Other than signing the contract day by day, do you have any other requests? Xianxia was confused. Do you agree? This request was unreasonable no matter which industry it was in. The staff member smiled and said, of course this isn't a big problem for us. On the contrary, it's our honor to be able to make you sign the contract with us happily. Fat Bro muttered, you're quite good at talking. Xianxia weighed the pros and cons and put forward her request. First, sign the contract on a daily basis. Second, don't show my face. Third, if possible, help me block all my scenes on the Star Domain network. Wait a moment, we need to discuss this. Another secretary asked gently, Missy, I brought coffee beans from Empire. Do you want to try it? Xianxia shook her head and refused, but Fat Bro shamelessly asked for a cup. The secretary made a pot of hand-brewed coffee on the spot. Fat Bro tasted it. Damn, this is too bitter, Xianxia chuckled. The staff members who were discussing were attracted by her smile. The girl's appearance was not the kind that could cause the downfall of a country, but she was very ugly. When she smiled, she had a rare brilliance and beauty in this era. If there was one word to describe it, it would be healing. Soon they came to a conclusion. Miss Yi, it will be a little regretful if you don't show your face, but we will respect your request. The first two conditions are fine, but the third one involves the Alliance's video, so we might be a little slow in processing it. Xianxia noticed that they said slow and not can't do it. Empire's strength seemed to be very strong. Both parties confirmed some small details. With Fat Bro around, he naturally wouldn't let Xianxia suffer any losses. Empire Livestream also made the biggest concession. It didn't take long for both parties to sign the contract. After tasting Xianxia's barbecue, the atmosphere became even more harmonious. When they left Xianxia with a full set of live streaming equipment. She was treated like a nanny. Fat Bro asked, what are you going to broadcast? I have a friend who feels a little hungry. Xianxia's eyes curved into crescents. Then what does your friend want to eat? Anything is fine. He's like me. He's not picky. Xianxia didn't expose him. Instead, she opened the store and prepared to place an order for ingredients. Brother Fatty noticed that the optical computer she was using was an old version. He hurriedly said, I'll give you the latest optical computer. Just treat it as my meal, my friend's meal money. Thank you, but I'll buy it when I have the money. The fat brother did not force her. Instead, he thought highly of the young lady. It was rare for someone from the slums to have such a temperament. What a pity. At this time, a staff member rushed in a panic. Boss, there's a big shot who actually came to our shop to buy an optical computer. Brother Fatty's face was distorted by the bitterness, but he still insisted on drinking that cup of coffee. What's the big deal? It's not like big shots have never come to our shop. It's the commander of the Alliance's fleet, Fu Zichuan. Chapter 8:14. Fat Bro spat out coffee on the person's face and stood up. What did you say? Fu Zichuan? Yes. Fat Bro's body swayed. If Xianxia hadn't supported him in time, he would have fallen. This. The optical computer this big shot is using should be the most advanced in the interstellar fleet. It's much more advanced than the latest model on the market. There's no reason for him to buy the optical computer in my shop. Well, Commander Fu doesn't seem to be here for the optical computer. He bought 10 optical computers and ordered 10 portions of barbecue. Fat Bro? 2 minutes later. Fat Bro's legs were trembling. Accompanied by Xianxia, he returned to the entrance of his shop. There was a sea of people rubbing shoulders at the scene, forming a small vacuum area. A few housework robots worked together. Some were in charge of the barbecue, some were in charge of the sauce, and some were in charge of packing. Countless people surrounded Fu Zichuan. It was like a large-scale star-chasing scene. Fu Zichuan lowered his eyes. His expression was as cold as in the Alliance's promotional video. Commander Fu, what brings you here? Fat Bro was like a social butterfly as he smiled and greeted him. It was as if the person whose legs had gone weak just now wasn't him. Xianxia thought to herself that this was probably his passive social talent. Her gaze inadvertently landed on Fu Zichuan, and her body stiffened slightly. He and Shui looked alike. If one wasn't very familiar with them, they would probably think that the two of them were the same person or twins. However, Xianxia quickly calmed down. It wasn't that she hadn't seen people who looked similar. He was him and Shui was Shui. While she was sizing up Fu Zichuan also looked at her. She had thin arms and legs, an ordinary human female creature. Her combat strength didn't even have half a star. It was just that her eyes were more lively and her temperament made people feel more comfortable. He said calmly, "I don't mean to disturb you. My sister wants to eat your barbecue, so I'm here to buy a few portions for her." Fat Bro was such a slick person, so he immediately praised him, such as, "Commander Fu dotes on his sister. Commander Fu is too approachable," and so on. When the onlookers heard this, they were extremely excited and began to share this scene on social media. "It's a sin to miss the barbecue in this shop. Everyone come quickly. The ingredients were almost gone. Real-time location. Even the commander of the Alliance fleet, Fu Zichuan, said it's a good restaurant. I won't allow my sisters to not have eaten it before. If we take the accelerated hover car now, we might even be able to see Fu Zichuan's divine face up close." As a result, more and more people came to know that today Fat Bro's shop was giving out free optical computers if you buy barbecue. Cough cough, buying optical computers would give out free barbecue. As for Feynman, he was about to faint from crying in front of the shop. *CKU. Why would a big shot like Fu Zichuan come out to support that damn fatty? He lost his mind and grabbed his hair. Even the terrifying thought of Fu Zichuan and the damn fatty having an affair appeared in his mind. "Hello, customer. Your barbecue is packed." Mingming's robot handed over the insulated box. To ordinary people, the thermos box was heavy, but Fu Zichuan easily picked it up and nodded. "Thank you." Suddenly, a loud sound came from the direction of the Alliance Parliament. The scene was instantly chaotic, and everyone ran frantically in the direction of the shelter. Xianxia stood rooted to the ground in a daze. Before she could react, her collar was grabbed by a pair of strong hands. "I forgot to say, the main text is about to end. Good night, I'm begging for a monthly ticket." Chapter 8:15. Has your intelligence reached the average level? Xianxia? An indifferent male voice entered her ears. "This is the sound of a photon cannon. Don't you know to stay in the shelter?" Xianxia was stunned for a moment before she reacted. Wasn't that part of Star City's defensive firepower? Was it used to counterattack when the enemy attacked? Fu Zichuan seemed to have guessed what she was thinking. The enemy might not be outside the city. Xianxia understood. Internal strife? Seems like you're not hopelessly stupid. Fu Zichuan was expressionless. "Thank you, I'll go to the shelter now." However, her collar was grabbed again. She didn't know how strong the other party was, but Xianxia couldn't break free from him and couldn't move an inch. "Can you find it?" Xianxia was about to say that she could just follow the direction of the crowd, but Fu Zichuan didn't give her time to explain and directly threw her into the air. "Xianxia!" Exclamation point. The expected fall didn't happen. A pair of powerful mechanical arms caught Xianxia steadily. "Xiao Bai, bring her home." "Okay, master." Xianxia turned her face and realized that what caught her was a mecha? Did the generation mecha also have self-awareness? However, upon closer inspection, she realized that it was actually a combat robot wearing a mecha. "Missy, sit tight." Xiao Bai used its other arm to touch Xianxia's head. The cold and hard alloy material had a special touch. Before Xianxia could reject Fu Zichuan, Xiao Bai had already carried her with one hand and strode towards the Fu family. Xianxia's hair was messed up by the wind after it ran. Her head was about to fall off. Star City, Central District. This place was still harmonious and stable. The fountain was opened regularly, and the gardener was methodically building the flower branches. It was as if no matter how cruel the war was, there wouldn't be any changes here. Xiao Bai slowed down and tilted its head to size up Xianxia. The girl's hair was messed up by the wind, and she looked slightly disheveled. There were also a few red marks on her cheeks. Weren't humans as strong as Master? Why was this little guy so weak? Xianxia's expression didn't change, mainly because she knew that she couldn't beat her opponent with her bare hands. She calmly took out a hairband and tied her hair into a bun. The hairband was furry and had two small bunny ears. It was a small gift that a female customer had forced on her. Little White's yellow mechanical eyes lit up. Xianxia asked with uncertainty, "Do you want it too?" Xiao Bai nodded vigorously. "Yes, yes." He even deliberately turned off the mech's head device, revealing his face that could be considered handsome among the robots. Xianxia gestured, not knowing where to start. "The robot, it doesn't have any hair." After thinking for a few seconds, Xianxia said gently, "Can I tie it on my hand?" Xiao Bai, "Okay." It stretched out its arm and Xianxia put the hairband on it. Xiaobai said happily, "Thank you, Miss Yi. Oh, we're here." It stopped, and what came into view was a beautiful villa. A young girl in a pink tea dress was drinking afternoon tea in the courtyard. Seeing that Xiaobai had actually carried a woman back, she put down her cup angrily. "Hey, what's your relationship with my brother? Let me tell you, my brother won't get married casually. My sister-in-law has to be at least as beautiful as the princess of the empire. Here are 5 million star coins. Be sensible and leave my brother." Chapter 8:16. Xianxia, she coughed lightly. "Miss, you misunderstood." "What misunderstanding? My brother has never had any relationships with the opposite sex since he was young. How could he have contact with girls? Did you use some scheme?" Fu Yunhue stared at Xianxia warily. "You're not sent by the Zergs to seduce my brother, are you?" However, not only did this young lady look familiar, but she was also quite good-looking. Fu Yunhue couldn't be said to be obsessed with looks. She was a good-looking person. She had 2 hobbies in her life: delicious food and beautiful women. She usually watched live streams to pass the time when she was bored. When she saw good-looking streamers or delicious food, she would reward them crazily. Xianxia jumped down from Little White's arm and said uncertainly, "I'm considered to be here to seek refuge?" Fu Yunhue looked at her in confusion. Little White hurriedly explained. "Tiske, so you're an idiot who even found a refuge." Fu Yunhue put her hands on her waist. She had been beaten down by her brother since she was young. Today she could finally beat someone else. How satisfying was that? "All right then, I'll reluctantly let you accompany me for afternoon tea." "Xianxia. Thank you, it's my honor." Since she was here, she might as well take things as they came. Anyway, she couldn't beat her. She could only comfort herself like this. Fu Yunhue flipped her hair and was a little happy. Because of Fu Zichuan's special identity, she didn't have many friends. This was the first time someone had afternoon tea with her. "This is the special black tea from Planet Anthera. This is the dessert made by a 5-star chef in the Alliance. Don't cry because it's so delicious." Fu Yunhue sounded like a proud young lady, but there was anticipation in her eyes. "Eat it. Cry for me. Be shocked by this perfect combination. Tremble. Cry." Xianxia used a small fork and tasted the dessert first, then paired it with a sip of black tea. She reacted calmly and praised out of politeness, "It's delicious." Fu Yunhue, who was looking forward to her crying, was dumbfounded. "That's it? That's it?" It was the first time she had eaten such a combination. It was so delicious that she cried. This woman, how did she do it? She was actually indifferent? "Hey, don't you think it's delicious? Or have you eaten better food before so you feel that these are mediocre?" Fu Yunhue questioned. Xianxia looked at her innocently. "Sorry, everyone's taste is different. I don't like things that are too sweet. I don't usually put so much sugar in my desserts, so I might feel differently from you." Fu Yunua's eyes lit up. "You know how to make desserts?" "Xianxia, a little." "Then make one of your favorite dishes for me to try." "I." Before she could finish her sentence, Fu Yunhue pushed her into the kitchen. "Our kitchen has everything from primitive kitchenware to molecular kitchenware machines to the latest models." "Xianxia, this pair of siblings, their innate ability was to interrupt other people's conversation, right?" She sighed. "Alright, are you going to live stream?" Fu Yunhue asked. "I have an account and I have over 20,000 fans. I can lend it to you and give you all the star coins I earn." Actually, Fu Yunhue wanted to give Xianxia a reward in disguise. "You have to pay for your food. That's a matter of course. Isn't there a civil war now? You can live stream? The sanctuary also has interplanetary networks, okay? Which backward planet did you come from? Don't you know this common knowledge?" Chapter 8:17. Xianxia. "I see." She didn't explain anything, but Fu Yunhue had already imagined her pitiful background. For example, she had grown up on a barren planet, she couldn't even afford nutrient solutions and could only roast insects for a living. She hadn't received 12 years of compulsory education, so she didn't even know what the interplanetary network was. The more she looked at it, the more she wanted to transfer money to Xianxia. #me, a rich woman, how can I transfer money to my beautiful sister? Waiting online, it's urgent. Xianxia didn't know that Fu Yunhue was already thinking about how to transfer money as her attention was focused on the layout of the kitchen. The Fu family's kitchen couldn't be described with the word grand. It was no exaggeration to say that it was every chef's dream. Even Xianxia was a little shocked. However, she returned to normal in an instant and chose a few ordinary but handy kitchen utensils. Thinking of the contract with Empire Livestream, Xianxia took out the livestream equipment from her bag. It was a camera ball the size of a fingernail. After it was activated, it floated into the air and automatically adjusted its position. Xianxia gave the camera ball an order not to film her face. Then she logged into the livestream software. This time, behind the two words, Tutu, there was a conspicuous, Empire livestream host, logo. Seeing this scene, Fu Yunhua stuttered. You, Tutu Bunny. You're actually the same person? Xianxia was curious. Have you watched my livestream? Fu Yunhua. She hadn't just watched it. She was Yun Zhongyue. Fu Yunhua was about to expose her identity when she suddenly remembered her attitude towards Xianxia in the beginning. Her expression suddenly became very subtle. I guess I've watched it. I don't know how to cook, so I won't disturb you. As soon as she finished speaking, she disappeared without a trace. Xianxia didn't think much of it and opened the livestream. After a simple greeting, she lowered her head and began to focus on making desserts. Almost as soon as she opened the livestream, Empire livestream began to recommend Xianxia, and countless viewers instantly flooded in. Oh my god, it's Tutu's live stream. Tutu is finally streaming again. I've watched the video from last time dozens of times. Today I saw a video of braised food and barbecued meat taken by a passerby. I heard that the person cooking is also Tutu. Is that true? The live broadcast room was bustling with noise and excitement, especially the netizens from Star City. There was no other reason other than it was too boring in the fallout shelter. Everyone was watching the live broadcast to kill time. As for the internal strife, they would fight every once in a while anyway, so they were already used to it. It just so happened that the office workers could openly slack off in the fallout shelter, and the students could justifiably not do their homework. In the courtyard of the Fu family, Fu Yunhua frowned. What should I do? What should I do? How can I treat Tutu so badly? Little White shook its feet. The system it was equipped with was all for combat. Fu Zichuan didn't install much of a daily chat template for it. Simply put, it was the steel straightener of robots. Apologize to her? How could I possibly lower my head and apologize to someone? Then, should we pretend that nothing happened? How can we do that? I hurt Tutu. Fu Yunhua sobbed twice and suddenly thought of something. Why don't I compensate her with my brother? Little White, no, she can't take a beating. If Master punches her, she'll probably vomit blood. Chapter 8:18. Fu Yunhua was confused. Why did my brother hit her? Xiao Bai suddenly came to a realization. I get it. He wants Miss Yi to hit Master? Immediately afterward it was puzzled. But with her thin arms and legs, if she punches Master, her arms will probably break. The corners of Fu Yunhua's mouth twitched. Forget it, you don't understand. So why am I chatting with this steel robot? Fu Yunhua lay on the table as the light shone through the lush branches and leaves, sprinkling fine fragments of light. She watched Xiangxi's live stream and couldn't help but swallow her saliva. The desserts that Xianxia made today were mango pancetta, strawberry snow lady, and mango dew. Every time she made a dessert, Xianxia would explain the steps in detail. Her explanation was clear and easy to understand, and she would also give the exact dosage. The audience was eager to try, and some even put it into practice. But soon various scenes of failure appeared. Brain, I know. Hand, you know nothing. I think it's very simple. Why did I fail at the first step of beating the eggs? Oh my god. My batter has turned into charcoal. My mother said that I'm cooking dark cuisine and she's going to kick me out of the house. Cack. Some people also felt that Xianxia had touched their cake. For example, the Chefs Association of the Alliance. There were very few delicacies in the interstellar era. Firstly, it was the promotion of nutrient solutions, and secondly, it was the secret operations of the Chefs Association. First, it was to raise the bar for chefs so that the public would subtly think that cooking was a skill that could only be mastered by professionals and that ordinary people couldn't learn it at all. Secondly, it was to strictly restrict the circulation of recipes. Ordinary people couldn't come into contact with ingredients and cooking techniques at all. Even if they searched for it, they wouldn't be able to find it on the interstellar network. The most ruthless move was that if a person cooked at home, they would have to pay a so-called pollution fee. This fee was not cheap. Hence, gradually, the public realized that the food they cooked was not delicious and the cost was high. They might as well drink nutrient solutions or go to restaurants outside to eat. The Chefs Association also rose in status because of this, and they gained supreme honor and status. But now, everything that Xianxia was doing was challenging the existing rules. How could she just tell him the recipe so casually? If everyone learned how to cook, how could the Chefs Association make profits? As a result, A large number of fake reviewers flooded into Xianxi's live broadcast room and accused Xianxia of something she didn't do. How can a girl who grew up in the slums have such amazing culinary skills? One look and I can tell that he stole it. Stealing is equivalent to plagiarism. Unforgivable. How despicable. It is recommended that Xianxia be exiled to the original Sin planet immediately. Have you guys heard? She knew how to cook because she had stolen the life work of a 5-star chef. It's worse than stealing children. The atmosphere in the live broadcast room instantly turned foul. The Chefs Association was complacent. She was just a new streamer. How could they not teach her a lesson? But to Fu Yunyue this was simply coming to life. She who had nothing but money crazily sent Xianxia gifts. He had single-handedly suppressed all the comments. On this day, news of Cloud Moon's terrifying wealth and hand speed spread throughout the interplanetary network, and everyone knew about it. Okay, it's done. I'll turn off the live broadcast then. Xianxia didn't even look at the comments and directly turned off the live broadcast. She went out with the desserts and found Fu Yunyue waiting at the door, clenching her fists tightly. 10 million star coins, please be with my brother. Please. Chapter 8:19. Xianxia was speechless. Sister, you were the one who said, leave my brother for 5 million star coins, right? Why did you change your mind so quickly? Miss Fu, stop joking, Xianxia said helplessly. Let's try the dessert first? Okay. In the courtyard. Xianxia placed the tray on the table and Fu Yunyue sat down eagerly. Although she had already tried a lot of desserts through the shared 5 senses during the live stream, however, how could virtual data be as delicious as real food? Fu Yunyue picked up a small fork and cut a piece of mango pancake. The yellow pancake skin was wrapped in white cream and fresh mango. It was embellished with green mint leaves, outlining beautiful colors. When it entered her mouth, the sweet taste of mango, smooth cream, and thin pancake skin formed layers of soft and sticky texture. Delicious. Fu Yunyue's eyes lit up. She finished the mango pancake in a few bites and threw away the fork. She picked up a strawberry and bit off half of it. The first bite was the Snow Empress's QQ popsicle skin. It was white and soft with a whole strawberry and cream in the middle. At this moment, sourness and sweetness reached a perfect balance. This is delicious too. Fu Yunyue picked up the small bowl of mango dew and gulped it down. The cooked sago mixed with mango pieces, coconut juice, milk and finally grapefruit. It tasted sweet and refreshing, completely conquering Fu Yunyue's taste buds. Sob, it's too delicious. Fu Yunyue sobbed and couldn't stop eating. In just a few minutes, she finished the desserts prepared by Xianxia for 2 people. Xianxia asked considerately, there are a few more in the fridge. Do you want to eat? Fu Yunyue let out a small burp. With a wail, she actually burst into tears. Xianxia was stunned. Little Bai was also stunned. The woman and the machine looked at Fu Yunyue in a daze. Fu Yunyue sobbed. It's really too delicious. I've never eaten such delicious desserts. So that was how it was. Xianxia said warmly, if you like it, I'll write down the recipe for you. If you want to eat it later, you can ask the chef to make it for you, or you can try cooking it yourself. But, isn't it very difficult to cook? Fu Yunyue asked in confusion. She had been taught this way of thinking since she was young, and she couldn't change it for the time being. Xianxia said, it's not difficult if you like him. Only then did Fu Yunyue realize that she had finished all the desserts on the table. She scratched her head and asked carefully, well, are you really not interested in my brother? Although he's a little ugly, a little fierce and a little cold, he's super good at beating up Zerg beasts. He can even earn a lot of money back. Of course, she didn't want Xianxia to be her sister-in-law because of food. Absolutely not. Xianxia replied seriously, I have someone I like. Is he also from Star City? Thinking of Shi Sui, Xianxia was absent-minded for a moment. He's somewhere very far away. But in the blink of an eye, the girl regained her determination. He's waiting for me to come home. Fu Yunyue muttered in her heart, a long-distance relationship. Then her brother might still have a chance. At the door, a figure stained with blood stopped in his tracks. On the interplanetary network, no matter how the people of the Chefs Association tried to smear her, the recipes of the desserts made by Xianxia still spread at an unstoppable speed. It swept the entire network. After trying, many people found that making delicious desserts was actually so easy. Chapter 8:20. The thing that the Chefs Association was most worried about had happened. The voices of doubt were like rolling snowballs, accumulating to the point where they could cover the sky and earth. The Chefs Association held an emergency meeting to discuss how to turn the situation around. If they couldn't solve the problem, they would first solve the source of the problem, Tutu the streamer. After this live broadcast, the number of fans on this account had increased by another wave. If she continued to develop like this, the consequences would be unimaginable. At the door, Fu Zichuan was full of vigor. When he heard the conversation between the two of them, he stopped in his tracks. Someone she liked? For some reason he was a little curious. What kind of man would this girl like? Brother, why are you back? Fu Yunue saw him and was more frightened than surprised. There's no food in the fridge. There's really nothing. The moment she opened her mouth, she was already a self-deceiver. Fu Zichuan's mouth twitched in the face of his sister's stupidity. Fu Yunue coughed. Brother, are you all right? Why are you covered in blood? The little girl's eyes were filled with anxiety. She lifted her skirt and rushed in front of him, wanting to check his injuries. Fu Zichuan moved a step to the side without a trace. Don't worry, it's not my blood. I'll go wash it first. His gaze fell on Xianxia. He nodded slightly in greeting, and the latter returned a polite smile. After Fu Zichuan took care of himself, he saw two girls in the courtyard through the window. They were chattering and ordering Xiaobai to make a hammock. Xiaobai was a combat robot. At some point, it had put on a rabbit ear headband that was the same as the two girls, and a red bow was tied around its neck. He couldn't bear to look at it. Fu Zichuan held his forehead and sighed. He strode into the courtyard. Brother? Fu Yunue saw him come out and chuckled. Brother, you have another headband. Fu Zichuan was expressionless. I don't wear such childish things. Tutu taught me to make this. Don't you think it's cute? Fu Zichuan was in a daze for a moment. There were two rabbit ears on his head. However, the two girls' ears were white powder and his was gray powder. Fu Yunue didn't expect that she would really succeed. While she was shocked, she quickly took many photos secretly. However, as she took photos, she realized her big brother had been staring at Tutu. There was a situation. Fu Yunue rubbed her small hands excitedly. Big brother, let's go. Quickly get Bunny in your hands. Xianxia lowered her head and replied to Brother Fatty's message. Brother Fatty apologized to her and said that he had left her behind to run to the shelter because he was in a hurry. Xianxia didn't think much of it. Brother Fatty had no obligation to help her in the first place, let alone when it was a matter of safety. After a few simple replies, Xianxia turned off her optical computer and was about to bid farewell to the Fu siblings when a tall figure suddenly appeared in front of her. Fu Zichuan. Even though he looked similar to Shui, Xiangxi's heart did not waver. Shui was Shui. She was different from anyone else in this world. Mr. Fu, thank you so much for saving me today. Fu Yunue secretly thought of the couple at the side and thought of the retro idol dramas that had recently become popular. Every time the female lead said this sentence, the male lead would smile wickedly and say, "Woman, then repay me with your body." Or, "Little thing, call me big brother and I'll give you my life." However, her brother displayed a straight man attribute that was no less than Xiaobai, a steel robot. It's a pity that you don't use your hands to practice mecha. Chapter 821. Fu Zichuan's logic was simple. He had watched the video of Xianxia cooking. Her hands were especially nimble, her strength was good, and her reaction was fast. More practice would give her an advantage in mecha combat. Fu Yunue, who was waiting at the side, was speechless. Brother, my dear brother? Can you be any more straight? Xiangxi's expression was normal. Well, thank you for the recommendation. I will consider buying it in the future. Fu Zichuan was speechless. He wanted to say that he would give her one, but he felt that it was too abrupt. His Adam's apple bobbed. He was already a man of few words, so he didn't know what to say. Fu Yunue was about to die of anxiety. Seeing that Xianxia was about to leave, she hurriedly pushed her elder brother. Brother, the civil strife is over, but we can't let our guard down. The city may not be safe. Send Tutu back. Xianxia declined politely, but she couldn't win against Fu Yunue's coquettish behavior. She even rolled on the ground, so she had no choice but to agree. On the hover car back, Xianxia didn't talk to Fu Zichuan except for a few words with Xiaobai. If Fu Yunue saw this scene, she would be very disappointed. After sending Xianxia to the slums, the girl jumped out of the car lightly and waved at Fu Zichuan. Goodbye. She said goodbye, but he didn't feel that she wanted to see him again. Fu Zichuan's thin lips moved as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he just remained silent. Something was wrong. Something was wrong with him. What was this strange and strong feeling? He couldn't deny that this girl had a mysterious attraction to him. After giving Xiaobai a few instructions, the combat robot switched to invisible mode and followed Xianxia to protect her. South City. Xiaonaofu was so tired that it collapsed into a cat biscuit. Xiangyu rubbed its meaty paws with heartache. Little baby, it won't hurt anymore after I blow on it. Huff, huff, meow meow meow. Xiaonaofu rubbed against his abdominal muscles aggrievedly and continued to lie down. Everyone had read the message it typed several times. The atmosphere was tense. It turned out that Xiangyi had traveled through so many worlds. She had once been injured, bled, and was on the brink of death. She had also been betrayed by her most trusted friend, and she had watched as someone close to her passed away. Just the thought of it made his heart ache. However, she had experienced it again and again. If it wasn't for the fact that she was determined to go home, her soul might have completely disappeared from this world. This is so infuriating. Why is it that the little rabbit has to bear everything it should bear? Xiangqi clenched his fists. He even had the urge to kill someone. Xiangli knocked on the table. His genius brain worked quickly and quickly came to a conclusion. Firstly, this main system should have existed for a very, very long time. Just like a mainframe, the longer it runs, the more problems and loopholes there will be. Secondly, Yi's world has technology that is ahead of ours. To a certain extent, they should have mastered the technology of time travel, space jump, and so on. Thirdly, to them, transmigrating to another world is no longer a difficult task. The transmigration system was discovered by them and was also broken by them. The rules that originally restricted people were successfully reversed and used various methods to escape the transmigration. Xiangqi became anxious. How are you going to save my sister if you talk so much? Find the main system? But how can there be such a coincidence that we can find the system, or find the person who transmigrated? Shui rubbed his eyebrows. Everyone looked at him in unison. Shui only said one name. Xiangfeng. Huh. Little uncle? Chapter 822. What Shui said next stunned everyone in the room. In the past year, I've met more than one fast transmigrator, and their goal was all Xiangfeng. At first, Shui only felt that something was strange. Why would all kinds of girls appear around Xiangfeng? Whether it was an ordinary Cinderella, a socialite, a rich beauty, a starlet in the entertainment industry, a top scholar from a famous university, or an elite in the business circle, without exception, they would all coincidentally meet Xiangfeng in different ways and fall deeply in love with him. Perhaps in the eyes of ordinary people, this was because of Xiangfeng's appearance and wealth, but this didn't make sense. How could an ordinary girl accurately grasp Xiangfeng's itinerary? Why would a person who originally had a deep love be so devoted to him after just one meeting? What was even more inconceivable were the people who couldn't find any traces of the first half of their lives, as if they had appeared out of thin air in this world. Xiangfeng was carefree and didn't feel much about this. He drove away one girl after another in anger. Then Shui discovered that soon after there were also men who pursued Xiangfeng. Their methods were similar. After finding out Xiangfeng's itinerary, they approached him with all kinds of reasonable and unreasonable identities. Without any reason or basis they fell in love with him. Shui concluded and guessed that they were all transmigrators from another world. Perhaps they were here to complete the mission. It wasn't until Xiangyi's return that he was completely convinced of his guess. Half an hour later, Xiangfeng sped all the way to the hospital. Shui and the others were waiting for him in the parking lot. Little Xiangyi, is there no hope? As soon as the group spoke, it was obvious whether it was true or not. Xiangfeng's eyes were brimming with tears. Did you guys ask me to see her for the last time? Shui, the Xiang brothers? Sanction began to roll up his sleeves and the others silently walked away. 2 minutes later. Xiangfeng didn't know how horribly he had been ravaged by the Demon King. He was completely terrified, and he was a perfect example of following one's heart. Are there any strange people around you? No, I think they're all quite normal. Fortunately, everyone had already made preparations. Both the open and covert forces were investigating the people Xiangfeng had been in contact with recently. Then, according to the pattern Shui had summarized, they began to eliminate them one by one. He busied himself until the wee hours of the morning, but to no avail. Xiangyu hugged Xiaonaofu and frowned. There really isn't anyone strange. Qin Wanyin is the last one. After that, the clues seemed to have been cut off. Xiangqi was puzzled. Assistant, subordinate, business partner, cafe owner. Even the cleaning auntie is excluded. Could it be that Brother Shi's thinking is wrong? Xiangli shook his head. No, it shouldn't be a problem. We might be the ones at fault. Maybe we shouldn't limit ourselves to adults. Let's see if any children approached him. Sanchen's sharp eyes locked onto Shui. You seem to have an answer. Shui gave a faint ahem as her gaze fell on Xiang Feng, who was standing in the corner with a confused look on his face. Xiang Feng, who am I? Where am I? What are they talking about? What system? Are all of you acting as me? Shui asked. Where's the dog? Xiang Feng subconsciously said, Isn't it you? Everyone silently walked further away. This time Xiang Feng howled even louder than before. Hey! Little Shiji, wasn't it with Xiao Naofu just now? Chapter 823. Only then did everyone notice that Xiao Naofu and little Shiji, who were still fooling around with each other just now, had disappeared. Why is the dog gone? Is the cat gone too? Xiang Feng asked with a dumbfounded expression. But this also means that little Shiji must know something. Yi was about to go crazy. She had never thought that she would end up like this after changing her soul this time. In the past year, although Xianxia had put various restrictions on her, the other members of the Xiang family had treated her well. In particular, that damned old man and old woman as well as that idiot Xiang Feng. She had an endless amount of pocket money and could enjoy all the things that she couldn't get in the interstellar world. Clothes, jewelry, bags, love, attention. Besides, Anan coaxed her every day and showed her positive comments. Yi felt very good about herself and felt that she was very popular here. She was also living a life of admiration. However, she didn't expect that she would be beaten back to her original state and even fall into a quagmire. On her cell phone, she received endless messages about cyber violence. In reality, even the maids who delivered water and food mocked her. The mental torture almost made her break down. However, Yi soon thought of a way to get out of the current situation. Bang! She smashed the vase, picked up a fragment and slashed her arm. A shallow wound appeared on her delicate, porcelain-like skin, and blood seeped out. Yi endured the pain and wanted to make another cut, but the door had already been kicked open by the bodyguards, who immediately snatched the fragment from her hand. Haha, you guys really care about her. Yi didn't know if it was because of the pain or because she was laughing, but tears streamed down her face. I'm telling you, if you don't treat me better, I'll destroy her body. Star City. Beep beep, cracking complete. Xianxia used the income from the live stream to buy a new optical computer. The modified cracking program worked and successfully restored some of the information on Yi's optical computer. Xianxia took a deep breath and began browsing. Yi's optical computer was usually used for watching live streams, watching variety shows, shopping, and taking selfies. However, Xianxia still found something valuable in the massive garbage records. Alternate World Transmigration Forum. Xianxia spent a few hours and finally figured out some key information. This world belonged to a higher plane. Traveling through time and space had become a reality. Therefore, the so-called fast travel system was not a rare thing for the people here. The elites of this world had established the Otherworld Transmigration Forum. The original intention was to become a truly free organization. For example, if someone wanted to quickly transmigrate but wasn't selected, or if someone didn't want to quickly transmigrate and wanted to avoid the mission, then the two of them could make a deal and pay a certain price to the administrators of the forum to complete the exchange. Unfortunately, now this forum had deviated from the original intention of its creator. The exchange had changed from a consensual agreement to an unknown coercion. Xianxia was the one who had been cheated. For the sake of caution, she did not directly contact any of the managers. Instead, she first browsed through the so-called price. Star coins, skill cards, plain energy, these terms were reflected in her eyes. Vaguely, she thought of a possibility. This Otherworld Transmigration Forum seemed to have been created. Another system, a dragon slayer, would eventually become an evil dragon. Xianxia felt a chill run down her spine. Chapter 824. After closing the forum and clearing her browsing history, Xianxia made up her mind. She had to go home, but it had to be safe. It would be best if she could find a way to contact Ling Yi. A thought flashed through her mind. Will Ling Ye's Rebels Alliance become a dragon slayer? She laughed self-deprecatingly. Who knows what will happen in the future? Xianxia's brain was exhausted to the extreme, and all she wanted to do now was to have a good sleep. However, her optical computer was flashing wildly, indicating that she had a new message. Xianxia tapped on it and raised her eyebrows. In summary, the text message was, "The Chefs Association is going to put me on trial?" Without giving her a chance to react, a video call popped up. It was actually a live broadcast. If she hung up, she didn't know how the Chefs Association would make a fuss about it. Xianxia clicked yes, but she set the camera angle to block her face. The Chefs Association's live broadcast was originally very popular, and now that the Alliance's live broadcast had also joined in, the traffic had reached a record high. The president of the Chefs Association was about 60 years old. He had white hair and was hale and hearty. "Miss Yi, I'm sure you're already clear about the charges we're going to put you on?" "Sorry, I'm not sure." Xianxia took the initiative to interrupt him. The president's expression was serious. "You stole our 5-star chef's recipe. Today you have to give us an explanation." Xianxia said, "Oh." The girl's calm reaction made the Chefs Association seem like a villain. The viewers in the live stream also thought so. "I don't care, I just like Tutu. The Chefs Association has always banned the circulation of recipes, but Tutu has allowed more people to enjoy delicious food. I'm definitely on Tutu's side." To be honest, the Chefs Association has no legislative or judicial power. What right do they have to put Tutu on trial? Isn't this an abuse of power? The president of the Chefs Association had a microchip in his ear. When he heard the real-time comments summarized by his assistant, he knew what was going on and softened his tone. "As far as I know, you're just an ordinary person in the slums who relies on relief money to survive, and you haven't received any education to become a chef. However, in your live stream, you've made several dishes that can only be made by 3-star chefs and above. Where did you get the recipe from? And where did he learn such cooking skills? Coincidentally, we have a 5-star chef who lost his painstaking notes. The recipe is exactly the same as the one you made in the live broadcast room." As he spoke, he showed everyone a few photos. They were the first few pages of the notes that the 5-star chef had taken. Scrambled eggs with tomatoes, sandwiches, mango pancakes. It was actually exactly the same. The president grasped everyone's thoughts and said, "I heard that you have a record of theft." The live stream was in an uproar. "This Tutu is a thief? To think I trusted her so much. Turns out she stole the recipe. It's ridiculous to know how to cook without any culinary education. Who in the interstellar era didn't know that ordinary people couldn't cook? Cooking is even harder than piloting a starship in Mecca." The audience was indignant, and the people of the Chefs Association were confident. Xianxia asked calmly, "Is that so? I thought that cooking was something that everyone was born with." This point of view was too shocking and difficult to accept. "How many recipes are there in the notes?" Xianxia said modestly, "I only know a little about cooking, but we can cook at the same time and see if our recipes and cooking techniques are the same. What do you think?" Chapter 825. The president of the Chefs Association was speechless. Xianxia made a sound of surprise. "Didn't you say that I stole his painstaking efforts? Even if I can't remember every dish clearly, I can at least remember it roughly, right? Or, are you deliberately leading the conversation and lying to slander me?" "Nonsense. How can we, the Chefs Association, threaten a thief from the slums?" Xianxia said coldly, "It's not up to me to decide one's background. What's more, the Alliance's law stipulates that all citizens of the anti-alliance member states are born free and equal. So you think that the poor and the rich are two different classes? Are there high and low classes?" The president was speechless. How could he answer that? Of course, the poor and the rich couldn't be compared. But he couldn't say that or he would definitely be scolded to death. "Little girl, you have a sharp tongue." An old female voice spoke. It was the vice president of the Chefs Association. She was wearing a light-colored knitted suit and looked like a kind old granny without any lethality. However, as soon as she opened her mouth, the situation was reversed. "If you didn't steal, how did you master the cooking skills? For the people in this interstellar plane, it was impossible to learn cooking without being taught. This was what everyone had always known since they were young." Xianxi's response was very simple. "As I said, I think cooking is a kind of talent. It can also be said that it is a kind of forgotten knowledge. As long as people practice, they can recall it." Crazy talk. A senior of the Chefs Association couldn't help but blurt out. Xianxia said indifferently, "May I ask that 5-star chef, how many dishes are in his notes? Are you afraid to compete with me?" "Oh, of course, I don't want to compete with a thief like you." Xianxia chuckled, "If that's the case, then I have nothing to say to you." She pretended to turn off the live broadcast, but the people of the Chefs Association hurriedly said, "Since it's your first offense, as long as you return the notes and never cook the dishes on the menu again, our Chefs Association can be magnanimous and not argue with you." Xianxia only felt that it was funny. Was he trying to get the recipe without risking anything? The people of the Chefs Association thought that they were very smart. Anyway, they didn't mention the specific number of dishes in the notes. In the future, no matter what dishes Xianxia cooked, they would just say that Xianxia stole the notes. Wasn't it easy for them to control public opinion? However, the screen of the video call went black. Xianxia hung up the call. Everyone? Soon Xianxia started her own live stream. In the kitchen, she had bought some new kitchen utensils and ingredients. It was enough to make some home-cooked dishes. Today, I will teach you how to cook 100 dishes. Xianxia put on her apron as she continued to place orders with her voice. From today onwards, I will cook 100 dishes every time I do a live stream until I stop doing live streams. The Chefs Association sent a video call to her in a hurry. Xianxia directly blacklisted the account and set the Do Not Disturb mode. The audience watching all this, is Tutu so stubborn? What's the big deal? The 100 dishes are all stolen recipes. Whether she stole it or not, at least we can use her cooking live stream as an educational video. 100 recipes would be leaked every day. It meant that countless people would learn to cook. The people of the Chefs Association were completely panicking. Wait, let's talk about it. Chapter 826. They wanted to contact her, but she had actually set the Do Not Disturb mode. No, you little girl, why don't you play by the rules? Do you have any culinary ethics? In fact, Xianxia couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with them. If she followed their logic, even if she won the competition and made a dish different from the other parties, the other party could also say, you stole more than one chef's notes. You stole a lot of them. That would only lead to an endless quagmire of self-proof, which wouldn't solve the problem at all. Xianxia chose another way. Since I can't prove myself, then I won't. The Chefs Association was most afraid of recipes being made public. Her 100 dishes a day was the best counterattack. Then, let's start with simple home-cooked dishes. If you live alone, you can make some porridge with 2 stir-fried dishes for dinner. The girl's voice was gentle, and she deliberately slowed down her speech so that people could hear her more clearly. At first, the Chefs Association had arranged for the Internet Water Army to spam keywords such as stealing and plagiarism, but they were soon flooded by enthusiastic netizens. There was no other reason, but there were many foodies. Nutrient solutions were anti-human things, but they were only eaten for survival. Tasting delicious food was human nature. The Empire livestream was willing to recommend it, and there were many bored netizens watching the show, so the traffic of the livestream soared. The first dish, the second dish, the third dish, from home-cooked stir-fry to various cold dishes, and then to various difficult dishes. The girl was not only extremely skilled in making each dish, but she was also very fast at cooking. Her overall management of time was amazing, and she could often take care of several dishes at the same time without showing any panic. She's using double speed? She must be using double speed. Oh my god, Tutu's reaction speed is too fast. I feel that she would be very good in other industries. I'm kneeling to the big boss. Doesn't the Chefs Association's face hurt? Let's not talk about anything else. Can your 5-star chef do it so fast? The people of the Chefs Association pretended to be dead on the surface, but they were suffering in their hearts. They really couldn't. 5-star chefs made high-end dishes, and it was normal for them to spend several hours on a dish. For someone like Xianxia to make 10 to 20 dishes in an hour, what a freak. Seeing the recipes being streamed out along with the live broadcast, the people of the Chefs Association couldn't help but send people to the vicinity of Xianxia's residence. No matter what, they had to stop Xianxia's live broadcast, even if he had to resort to unscrupulous means. However, before the hired bounty hunters could even get close, they were taught a lesson by Little White, who descended from the sky. In a matter of minutes, he had changed from being unscrupulous to not breaking his hand. When the people of the Chefs Association received the news, they were secretly shocked. Battle robots, wearable mechs. These were all existences that belonged to big shots. Why would he protect a little girl from the slums? No, something's wrong. Before they had the time to ask their men to retreat, a small starship hovered above Xianxia's residence precisely. The starship did not turn on the optical stealth mode, and the huge water droplet logo was reflected in everyone's eyes. That was the symbol of the Alliance commander, Fu Zichuan. 6 hours later, Xianxia rubbed her wrist, which was in so much pain that she almost couldn't raise it. The last dish is ready. Someone will send it over now. In the live broadcast room, the viewers who had been selected were jubilant, as if they were celebrating the new year. The viewers who didn't get selected had subtly changed a little. Cooking. I feel like I can do it too. Chapter 827. Many people felt the same way. They felt that what Xianxia said was very reasonable. Cooking was probably a talent that every human had. It was just that they had forgotten it after birth. As long as they learned it, they could recover their memories. On this day, the sales of kitchenware and ingredients in the Interstellar Mall increased greatly. Originally, only the people from the Chefs Association would buy these things. After so many years, Even if the suppliers knew the inside story, they tacitly agreed with what the Chefs Association had done. In any case, they did not have much sales to begin with. However, once they realized that they could make money and that there was a huge profit to be made, the attitude of these suppliers changed instantly. They stood up one by one, criticized the Chefs Association for its schemes, defended the interests of every citizen in the alliance, and vigorously promoted that cooking was something that anyone could learn as long as they bought good kitchenware and ingredients. The reputation of the Chefs Association fell to the lowest point since its establishment. After Xianxia finished her lucky draw, she turned off the live stream and fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. It had been a long time since she was so tired. She fell into a deep sleep. On the roof, the starship did not leave but turned on its stealth mode. Whitey was squatting in a hidden corner, poking the hair ring that Xianxia gave it from time to time. After sleeping for a long time, Xianxia heard an anxious and familiar voice calling her. "Sister, are you okay?" Xianxia gradually woke up and found herself in the sea of consciousness. In front of her was the figure of a young man who had transformed from data into a human figure. "Ling Yi." Xianxia was a little surprised. "How did you find me?" Ling Yi smiled bitterly. "I already know that you and Yi have swapped souls. I'm sorry, sister. I didn't protect you well." Xianxia said in a warm voice, "I can't blame you for this. Do you know any way to get the two of us back?" Ling Yi was silent for a few seconds. "Sorry, I don't know." "Then I'll think of another way." "How did you?" The young man in front of her had a few scratches on his face. The parts that were covered by his clothes seemed to be injured as well. "It's just a program. How could it be injured?" Ling Yi said casually. "I accidentally bumped into the main system and was attacked. It will take some time for the program to repair itself." Seeing that he didn't want to say more, Xianxia didn't ask any more. Ling Yi smiled and said, "Sister, don't be afraid. Now that I'm here, no one in this world can bully you. That lousy Chefs Association made you unhappy, didn't it? Don't worry, I'll definitely make them pay you back 10 times or even 100 times. Xianxia was absent-minded and didn't listen at all. Suddenly, a pair of hands appeared above her head. It was Ling Yi. "Sister, do you want to go home that badly? Is this world not good? It's a high-leveled civilization with advanced technology. Sister hasn't been here for long, but she's already so popular. Even if she can't go back, she can still live happily here." Xianxia looked at him with clear eyes. "Because someone is waiting for me." Ling Yi smiled but did not reply. "By the way, do you know about the alternate world transmigration forum? I wonder if it's reliable to exchange souls with them?" Xianxia casually mentioned. Ling Yi blinked. The youth's eyes were dark and gloomy. "I'm not too sure." Fu Zichuan received a message that was sent directly to his optical computer. The Alliance's safety net seemed to exist in name only. After browsing a few lines of information, his eyebrows furrowed deeply. That night, the administrators of the Alternate World Transmigration Forum were all arrested. The Alliance issued a decree that very night, banning the use of shuttles that were not for scientific research purposes. Chapter 828. The Otherworldly Transmigration Forum was also banned. When Xianxia woke up, she saw the news that had been pushed all over the internet. She was dumbfounded. Ling Yi connected his program to the housework robot and scurried over. "Sister, you don't look too good. That forum has been banned," Xianxia said with a complicated mix of emotions. The news said that Fu Zichuan personally led the team and didn't even let Administrator 001 off. "How did that happen?" Ling Yi asked meekly as he nestled beside her calf. "What about you, sister?" Xianxia hugged her knees and said in confusion, "I don't know either." She rarely showed such a helpless expression, but this time it was really different. All her paths home seemed to have been blocked. She even began to regret hesitating yesterday. If she had contacted the administrator at that time, she might have been swapped back today. Ling Yi comforted her. "Sis, don't take it too hard. Look, the news also said that those administrators aren't 100% successful. Half of them died an unnatural death and their souls disappeared from this world without a trace. That is really bold to have the guts to swap twice." Xianxia said, "But there's still a 50% chance of success." Ling Yi thought to himself, "Take it slow, there's no hurry." He would let her slowly wear away all her expectations and hopes. In that case, he would be the only one left in her world. "No matter what, I will always be by your side, sister," Ling Yi said in an extremely gentle tone. In Nanqing, little Shiji held Xiao Naofu in his mouth and ran far away from the hospital, displaying a physical strength that was far beyond that of a Shiba Inu. However, it was still caught. Xiangyu held the kitten in his arms and doted on it. However, little Shiji was locked in a cage and interrogated on the spot. The men of the Xiang family and Shui were all more than 185 centimeters tall, and their long legs were pleasing to the eye. However, in little Shiji's eyes they looked like evil forces. Are you a fast transmigrator? Or the system? Even though it was mentally prepared, little Shiji's pupils still trembled. However, it didn't plan to say anything. It would never give in to these evil forces. You're not going to say anything? Take her to be sterilized, Shui said indifferently. Little Shiji comforted himself while bearing with the humiliation. Wasn't it just sterilization? It didn't care. In the next second, Shui's gaze fell on Xiangyu's arms. Take Xiao Naofu to be sterilized. Xiao Naofu, meow meow meow. Be a human, sure go. Little Shiji barked. Woof woof. Dog man, come at me if you have the guts. Shui took out a cigarette and lit it up. The scarlet flame illuminated his handsome face. During Xiao Naofu's surgery, let little Shiji watch from the side. Little Shiji barked. Woof woof woof. Too ruthless, this D*MN man is too ruthless. A few minutes later. It was as if the scene was repeating itself. Little Shiji typed on the tablet with great difficulty. Little Shiji was indeed a fast transmigrator and his mission was to assist Xiang Feng in gaining love. This was also its final plane. Once it was done, it would be able to transcend. I know about Ling Ye's existence. He was the one who took this world offline from the main system and made it stand alone. The main system can get everything back on track, but I can't contact the main system in this world now. There's nothing I can do. Unless Ling Yi reconnects this world to the main system. However, if he does that, he'll probably be erased by the main system. Miss Xiangyi may never come back. Chapter 829. It was already late at night and there was only a dilapidated street lamp at the entrance of the alley that was emitting a dim yellow light. The surrounding temperature seemed to have dropped by a few degrees. Shui and Xianxia had been smoking non-stop. Little Shiji was released and wanted to lick Xiao Naofu, but Xiao Naofu dodged. Meow meow meow. Atrocious. How dare you lie to me? Little Shiji was helpless. It just didn't want to get into trouble, so it carefully hid its identity as a fast transmigrator. That was its bottom line. Oh, Xiao Naofu is too cute. Hence, its bottom line was lowered again and again because of this stupid cat. However, little Shiji's heart softened again when it saw how depressed Xiao Naofu was and how its ears were drooping. It returned to the side of the cage and threw the tablet on the ground, but no one cared about it. Little Shiji typed a line of words on it with its paw. I have an idea, but I can't guarantee that it will work. Xiangli frowned. Tell me about it. Every bubble world has its own protagonist, and his will is the will of the world. This world is derived from a book, and the male protagonist in the book is Shui, but the male protagonist of this world is actually Xiang Feng. The reason why this bubble world was created is because he wants to get out of singlehood. So, when this goal is achieved, the will of the world will be at its strongest, and it might be able to break the shield set by Ling Yi. Xiang Feng was dumbfounded. Me? I'm actually the male protagonist? How is that possible? So, according to you, the solution to the problem is to get me married? Little Shiji silently deleted the words, love works too, and calmly added the word, okay with his paw. According to the estimation, if it was dating, it could get an A-level mission evaluation. If it got married, it should be able to get an S-level mission evaluation. Anyway, it had nowhere to go. When the time came, it would just stay in this world to protect Xiao Naofu. Xiang Li pondered for a moment and said, let's give it a try. The end of science is philosophy, and the end of philosophy is theology. Even if he was a genius, he wouldn't be able to solve all problems. However, he wasn't willing to give up even the slightest bit of hope when it came to his sister. Xiangqi, yes. Let's give it a try. Xiangyu, anyway, even if my sister doesn't come back, there's nothing to lose. Xiang Feng stomped his feet. How is there no loss? What I want is a perfect love, not some random marriage. Not. The cold and decisive voice naturally came from the great demon king. Xiang Feng immediately backed down. Then let's get married. The problem is, where are we going to find someone to marry? You can't just stop a random girl on the street and shout that you want to marry her. Shui puffed out a smoke ring which covered her eyes and eyebrows. She said in an indifferent tone, is there a rule that states that I must marry a girl? Little Shiji hesitated for a moment before typing. No. Xiang Feng was shocked. You're not going to sacrifice yourself to marry me, are you? There's no need for that. Shui, the brothers of the Xiang family, Little uncle, you should reflect on why Tutu is loved by everyone while you're bullied by everyone. There's a reason for all of this. Sure Sui picked up little Shiji, after which a look of horror appeared on the chubby Shiba Inu's face. She said indifferently, I'll give you a chance to redeem yourself. Little Shiji? Xiangfeng? Chapter 830. The little Shiba Inu barked angrily. Woof woof woof. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. My chastity must not be ruined. Sure Sui raised her eyebrows. You don't agree? Xiao Naofu will do it then. Xiao Naofu was dumbfounded. What are you doing? Little Shiji's pupils dilated. Woof? No. Looking at the adorable kitten snuggled up in Xiangyu's arms, little Shiji closed his eyes. Forget it. If I don't go to hell, who will? If I don't marry Xiangyu, who will? It barked aggrievedly, indicating that it would be better to let Xiangyu do it. Xiangyu immediately said, I'll go make an appointment at the church right away. Xiangqi made an okay gesture and said, Leave the gown to me, I've already prepared it. Although it's for Tutu and brother Sure, Xiangyu and Xiangyu shot daggers at him. Xiangqi hurriedly corrected himself. Ahem, it's just a couple's outfit. It's not a wedding gown. On the side, Xiangfeng was incompetent and furious. Did you guys even consider me? Star City. It had been a month since Xiangyi arrived in Star City. The flow of time between the two worlds was different, but Lingyi did not intend to tell Xiangyi. Today's live stream is over. Xiangyi turned off the live stream and sat down on the floor in exhaustion. She was exhausted, but if she didn't keep herself busy, she was afraid that she would collapse. When she was doing the transmigration mission previously, she had a clear goal, to work hard and go home. But it was different now. It seemed that there was no point in doing anything. Lingyi skillfully packed the food and mailed it to the viewers who had won the lottery. During this month, Xiangyi kept her word and cooked 100 dishes a day. This kind of behavior was universally shocking. It was unprecedented. However, the effect was also extremely obvious. Xiangyi was now the most popular streamer on the internet. There was no other. Alliance Livestream regretted it so much that the staff members who were full of superiority were all fired. The Imperium Livestream, on the other hand, smiled and invited Xiangyi to develop in the Imperium. They would arrange a villa and a starship for her. However, they were all rejected by Xiangyi. As for the Chefs Association, it had fallen into the longest dark period since its establishment. Since Xiangyi's live broadcast, countless people found that the so-called ordinary people can't cook by the Chefs Association was a conspiracy. They followed the trend and learned to make the dishes that Xiangyi taught them every day. They were surprised to find that they could also make delicious dishes that were not inferior to the chefs. The current Chefs Association was being criticized, cursed, attacked, and opposed. Some people even called for the Chefs Association to be shut down. Sister, you're so awesome. You've gained another few tens of millions of fans today. Lingyi switched to housekeeping mode and started massaging Xiangyi's shoulders. Xiangyi gave a perfunctory reply, forced herself to focus, and continued to write the program. Currently, the Alliance only prohibited civilian use of the shuttle technology, but it was still allowed for official research. Xiangyi tried to break through the security wall of the Science Research Institute, but the difficulty was too high. It was like giving an unsolvable math problem to a primary school student. It was impossible to solve. The little robot sat next to her, looking very obedient. Sister, it's useless. The technology of this plane is too powerful. Even I can't break it. Isn't it good to stay here? I can accompany you. Forget those memories. Once you forget them, you'll be happy. Perhaps because she was too tired, Xiangyi felt dizzy, and her consciousness was somewhat absent-minded. Perhaps Lingyi was right. Forget. Family. Forget. Sure Sui. Chapter 831. Lingyi looked at her quietly. Xiangyi's willpower really exceeded his imagination. For the past month, he had been trying to hypnotize her, but it had little effect. Today, Xiangyi was probably too tired, so he found an opportunity to take advantage of her. The psychological suggestion worked. Xiangyi's eyelashes trembled. She felt her eyelids were extremely heavy. She fell onto the sofa. The little robot rubbed against Xiangyi's palm. Let me accompany you, okay? I can do whatever he can give you. If he likes you very much, I have 100 points, 1,000 points. The doorbell suddenly rang. Lingyi was full of vigilance. He connected to the electronic peephole on the door and saw the person outside the door clearly. Fu Yunhua. He let down his guard. Xiangyi, who was about to fall asleep, was woken up. She propped up her tired body and opened the door. Sister, I'm here. Fu Yunue gave her a bear hug and almost pushed Xianxia to the floor. A pair of strong hands grabbed Fu Yunue's collar in time and helped Xianxia stabilize. Then he withdrew his hands without a trace. "Be careful," Xianxia said weakly. "Mr. Fu, you're here too." Fu Zichuan replied, "Yes." "Ling Yi?" For some reason this Fu Zichuan made him feel a little dangerous. He was the one who sent the message on the alternate worlds transmigration forum to Fu Zichuan. Fu Zichuan did not disappoint him. His efficiency was astonishing. He caught all the administrators. However, to Ling Yi those people did not pose any threat to him. He had long gotten rid of the shackles of those ants. It was just that he was too lazy to deal with those people personally. "Ah, sister, you're too kind. You actually left so much food for me." Beside the coffee table, Fu Yunue was extremely excited. These days, Xianxia would always leave some food for her according to her taste and send it over. Gradually, Fu Yunue could not wait for the takeout anymore. Every time she would come to the door to get it herself. However, she had always been alone before. This time she brought her big brother with her. Xianxia brought the cutlery over and asked politely, "Would you like to try it, Mr. Fu?" She thought that Fu Zichuan would refuse, but the man nodded slightly. "Okay." After saying that, she imitated Fu Yunue and sat cross-legged beside the coffee table. This house was bought by Xianxia. The area was not big and most of the space was occupied by kitchen utensils. The living area only had a small bed and a coffee table. There were very few clothes, only a few of the same color and style, which were casually hung on the clothes rack. There wasn't even a wardrobe, let alone other decorations. The entire room gave off the feeling that it was lifeless. It was as if there was nothing here that made her reluctant to leave and she could leave at any time. "Oh, it's too delicious." It's another day of crying over delicious food. Fu Yunue's eyes were brimming with tears as she ate until her cheeks were puffed up. Fu Zichuan picked up 2 chopsticks. It was still as delicious as ever. His attention unconsciously fell on Xianxia. The girl was so thin that she was almost out of shape, thin and frail. She also became less talkative. She would only reply with 1 or 2 words when Fu Yunue said something, as if she began to resist social interaction. Fu Zichuan observed for a while without batting an eyelid and coughed lightly. "Miss Yi, is there something on your mind?" Fu Yunue tried her best to swallow the food in her mouth. That's right. Why aren't you saying anything? Is it because of your long-distance boyfriend?" Xiangxi's eyes were filled with confusion. "I have a boyfriend?" Chapter 832. Huh. Fu Yunue almost spat out her rice. She was extremely surprised. "Didn't you say that you have someone you like waiting for you in a faraway place?" Xiangxia tried her best to recall, but she could not remember anything. She smiled softly. "Is there? Maybe it's something from a long time ago." Fu Yunue was stunned for a few seconds. "I see. Did Tutu really forget? Or did she want to walk out of her previous relationship? If it was the latter, then wouldn't her brother have hope?" Thus, Fu Yunue began to praise her brother crazily, vividly demonstrating what it meant to be stupid at Versailles and showing off. "My brother used 6 seconds to defeat the champion of the mecha competition last time. The little princess of the empire came to pester my brother again. She said that she would marry no one else but my brother. Ayaya, Tutu, my brother's mine has recently dug out a batch of high-quality gems. Do you want me to make a set of hand gestures for you? Or a pigeon egg on your kitchen knife?" How could Fu Zichuan not guess Fu Yunue's thoughts, but unexpectedly he did not expose her. However, his ears started to burn. Throughout the entire process, Xianxia listened attentively and responded politely from time to time. The little robot at the side was extremely angry. He did not take Fu Zichuan seriously at first, but now, the more he looked at Fu Zichuan, the more he disliked him. This face was too similar to Shi Sui's. It was disgusting. Fu Yunue ate and drank her fill. She rubbed her round belly and held a few ingredient storage boxes in her hand. She burped and said goodbye to Xianxia. "Bye-bye, see you tomorrow?" Xianxia asked. "I might not be able to see you tomorrow. I probably won't start a live broadcast in the future. Sorry, I'm afraid I can't cook for you." Hearing this, Fu Yunue said angrily, "What do you take me for? I came to look for you because of food." Burp. "Alright, that's also part of the reason, but... The arrogant young lady was so embarrassed that her face turned red. She stomped her feet hard and said what was in her heart. "I treat you as a good friend." After saying that, Fu Yunue's head was so hot that it was almost smoking. She covered her face and ran away. Xianxia was stunned for a moment. Her cherry lips moved, wanting to say something, but Fu Yunue had already run far away. Fu Zichuan's deep voice rang in her ears. Tutu, can I add you as a friend on the optical computer? It had been a long time since he called her Miss Yi. All right. Xianxia took the initiative to take half a step closer to Fu Zichuan. From the little robot's point of view, the two of them looked very intimate. After adding her as a friend, Fu Zichuan left politely and did not disturb Xianxia too much. Before returning to his hover car, Fu Yunyue was still patting her red and hot face. When she saw him coming back, she stuck her head out of the car window with stars in her eyes. Brother, I saw the two of you whispering. Is there something going on between you two? Fu Zichuan said lightly, I'm just cooperating with her and being a tool. Fu Yunyue? As soon as the Fu siblings left, Ling Yi controlled the door and closed it. Ling Yi questioned, Sister, why did you add another man as a friend? Xianxia looked at him. Mr. Fu is a very nice person. Is there a problem? Ling Yi said in a muffled voice. I don't like sister talking to other men. Xianxia ignored him and continued to write the program. However, in the program to attack the security wall, a piece of virus code had been added without leaving a trace. Chapter 833. The little robot that was ignored became even more anxious. It circled Xianxia back and forth, trying to attract the girl's attention with the noise it made. Unfortunately, Xianxia's focus was too strong. Whether it was learning, cooking, or coding, she was highly focused and would not be easily disturbed. Ling Yi did not understand why she was so persistent. After waiting for her to rest and drink water, Ling Yi asked tentatively, Sister, do you miss your family? The girl's clear eyes revealed a trace of confusion. Family? She should have a family, but why couldn't she remember anyone? The girl's expression fell into Ling Ye's eyes. He was overwhelmed with emotions and was overjoyed. She had really forgotten. However, Xianxia's next answer made him feel as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. I want to go home. Under the little robot's incredulous gaze, the girl firmly repeated, I want to go home. Ling Yi could not understand. She could even forget Shi Sui and her family, but why didn't she forget to go home? How deep was her obsession? Time passed day by day. On the first day Tutu stopped broadcasting, the netizens on the Star Domain network thought that she might be tired and wanted to rest. The second day, the third day, the 10th day, her livestream screen was always black. The Chefs Association felt that this was a precious opportunity and jumped out to create another wave of waves. They released the news that Tutu was guilty. She had used up all the stolen recipes, so she was at her wit's end. The netizens' response to this was, someone turn on the light energy electromagnetic cannons on the starship and aim them at the stupid Chefs Association. It was the Chefs Association that deceived the public. It was the Chefs Association that persecuted Tutu. It was the Chefs Association that deprived everyone of their happiness. The netizens' anger was all vented on the Chefs Association. The Chefs Association, which was originally like a falling leaf in the wind, completely collapsed. For a long time in the future, as long as the Chefs Association was mentioned, it would be despised by thousands of people. Fu Yunyue changed from freeloading to bringing food. Xianxia's symptoms of social rejection were becoming more and more obvious. She was unwilling to go out and cook. Every day she was busy typing a bunch of things on her optical computer that she could not understand. The young girl was extremely thin. Every time Fu Yunyue saw her, she felt shocked. Fu Yunyue suspected that if she didn't come to deliver food, if she didn't force Xianxia to sleep a little every day, Xianxia might starve to death or die suddenly at home. On the other hand, Ling Yi was getting more and more irritable. Other than Fu Yunyue, Xianxia was not even willing to communicate with him. Fu Zichuan rarely came, but every time he came, Xianxia's symptoms would improve a little. Just yesterday, Fu Zichuan had asked her to go on an interstellar trip with him. Xianxia, who was so against the outside world, had actually agreed. After Fu Yunyue left, Xianxia continued to write code. She had tried to attack the security wall of the research institute a few times, but it was no different from throwing an egg at a rock. There was once when she was almost tracked down by the other party, and it was only because Ling Yi covered for her that she was able to escape unscathed. Sister, I've made you something to eat. I made it according to the recipe from your previous livestream. I guarantee that it will taste exactly the same. Sister, if you go on a trip, can I go with you? I'll just stay in your optical computer and won't cause you any trouble, okay? In the long silence, Ling Yi almost went crazy. The little robot tugged at Xianxia's sleeve. Sister, pay attention to me. Xianxia's expression was indifferent as she turned off the robot's power. In a hurry, Ling Yi entered his data into Xianxia's optical computer. Chapter 834. In an instant, the program was triggered. Ling Yi realized that something was wrong almost instantly, but it was too late. The program Xianxia wrote every day actually contained a virus code that was fatal to him. That was a Super S-level virus that Xianxia had learned in a certain fast-traveling dimension. As soon as Ling Yi appeared, she realized that the root of the problem was not to break through the security wall of the Academy of Sciences and return home through the interstellar era's technology. Instead, she needed to get rid of Ling Yi. The virus overbearingly invaded every bite of Ling Yi's. Even though it was in the form of virtual data, Ling Yi could feel that his body was being cut apart inch by inch. While fighting against the virus, he gritted his teeth and asked, "You've recovered your memory?" Xianxia looked at him calmly, neither sad nor happy. Her eyes were clear. Ling Yi instantly understood something and smiled bitterly. "So, you didn't lose your memory at all. You've been lying to me since the beginning." Xianxia said calmly, "Same here." "Ling Yi, no, what should I call you? Dragon Slayer? System number 2? The ripples showing Ling Yi's data fluctuated. In addition to the difficulty of fighting against the virus, his emotions were also extremely intense. Xianxia did not relax at all and continued to use other small viruses to completely restrict Ling Yi's movements. Ling Yi projected a virtual human figure, which was still a beautiful and delicate young man like an angel. "You already know." "More or less." Xianxia's eyes were calm and her tone was calm, just like when Ling Yi first met her. It was as if nothing could disturb her. "The 2 soul exchanges between me and Yi were related to you." Ling Yi simply sat down cross-legged, probably because he had nothing left to lose. He snorted as if he was very disdainful of that idiot Yi. Otherwise, how could she have been chosen by the main system to quickly transmigrate? It was just that he had done something to her. He had also interfered with the main system when Xiao Naofu was reincarnated. Xianxia continued, "You're not a real human. The so-called digitized form is your original form. This world should be the world where you were born." Ling Yi tilted his head and smiled, revealing his sharp canine teeth. "Wow, sister is so smart. So everything is a lie. You're just playing me." From the first meeting when he was about to transmigrate, to the reunion in Little Rabbit Farm, and then to the companionship in the interstellar plane, reality did not exist. Everything was an illusion. Ling Yi faintly said, "Isn't Big Sister acting as me too? I didn't expect Big Sister's acting skills to be so good that even I was fooled. One is marked by the company one keeps." Not to mention the experience of transmigrating to another world, just the fact that she had Shui and Xiao Naofu by her side, these 2 acting geniuses, it would be unreasonable if she didn't improve her acting skills. What should I do? Big Sister treats me so badly, but I still like Big Sister a lot. Ling Yi's eyes revealed a trace of stubbornness. Big Sister is finally paying attention to me. Xianxia's expression did not change as she continued to add poison to the poison. Ling Yi's expression was somewhat malevolent, and his core data was nearly destroyed. Big Sis is so ruthless. She already knew the truth, yet she still endured it for so long. Ling Yi gritted his teeth. "But do you know? Without me you still can't go back. Be nicer to me. Maybe I'll consider letting Big Sister go back. You've given your gentleness to so many people. Can't you give me one more?" Xianxia said the cruelest words in the most gentle tone. Gentleness and kindness have always been for people, not for trash. Chapter 835. Ling Yi's virtual projection in the air became even dimmer. "Am I trash in your eyes, sister?" Ling Yi asked in shock. Xianxia stayed silent for a long time before saying, "You weren't in the past." Ling Yi put on a smile that was uglier than crying. A moment later, his expression gradually became menacing, paranoid, and maniacal. "Sister, you can't go back. That world has been blocked by me. Even if you use the teleportation technology of this world, you won't be able to reach your destination. Besides, your code can only trap me. Can't kill me at all." Xiang Yi's virus code was indeed very strong, but Ling Yi, as the second transmigration system, was also not to be underestimated. He could continuously evolve and fight until one day he could break through the trap set by Xianxia. Xianxia asked, "What about the main system?" Her words were earth-shattering. Ling Yi widened his eyes and stared at Xianxia in disbelief. No, she must be lying to me. How could Xianxia have contacted the main system? She wouldn't have waited until now. She would have gotten the main system to take action long ago. "I can't contact it, but I trust my brothers Shui, Xiao Naofu, and little Shiji." Shui was not the only one who had long noticed little Shiji's abnormality. As long as that world returned to normal, little Shiji would be able to contact the main system as a teleporter. Ha ha ha. Ling Yi convulsed with laughter and said, "Sister, you're so adorable. They're a bunch of good-for-nothings." How can they be as smart as you? Do you know that the flow of time in this interstellar world is completely different from that in your world? You've been here for more than a month, but only 2 or 3 days have passed there. How long do you think they'll take to find a solution? How long do you think you'll have to wait here? A year? 2 years? 10 years? Xianxia said, I've already prepared myself for the worst. She did not have any strong points except that she was a little patient. Xianxia sat down and casually flipped through a comic book that Fu Yunyue had given her. In this era where paper books were rare, it was said that the comic books were treasured enough to be kept in the library. Xianxia flipped through dozens of pages with a solemn expression. It turned out that people didn't wear clothes when they were in a relationship. Ling Yi tried to continue spouting nonsense, but Xianxia calmly silenced him. Thus, she saw the young man flying into a frenzy in the air, but there was nothing he could do to her. South City Church. The red carpet extended all the way from the entrance, and the flowers that had been flown in were decorated with exotic dewdrops. There were only a few people in the huge church, and all of them were looking at a man and a dog dressed in formal attire. The kind priest inquired, Are you willing to, from now on, become Xiang Feng's husband and enter into a marriage contract with him? In sickness and in health or for any other reason, to love him, to care for him, to honor him, to accept him, to be faithful to him until the end of his days? Little Shiji was conflicted for a long time and reluctantly gave up on life. The priest did not find it strange and stroked its head kindly. What's wrong with marrying a dog? Nowadays there are even people who bring figurines to get married. The priest looked at Xiang Feng and continued with the procedure. Are you willing, little Shiji? Xiang Feng interrupted. I'm willing. He couldn't help but mutter softly, It'd be ridiculous if this works, as the priest announced. I hereby announce that you two are officially husband and wife. The world in front of them seemed to have ripples on the surface of the water. Chapter 836. Whoosh, space seemed to be distorted as it overlapped with one another. It felt like a second, but it also felt like 10,000 years. A moment later, everything returned to normal. Xiang Feng was dumbfounded and his mouth was wide open. No way, right? What kind of fantasy plot is this? The priest rubbed his eyes, thinking that it was an illusion. He asked with a smile, What's wrong? He asked with a smile, When will the next ceremony be arranged? Little Shiji suddenly barked excitedly and leaped towards Xiang Li, who was holding a tablet, to type a few words. I've contacted her. Everyone felt a sense of relief. Yi was the only one whose eyes were full of panic, but she didn't dare to say a word. In the past 3 days she had fully experienced what it meant to drag on like a year. Hell, was just SOSO. Little Shiji immediately typed again. You can get a divorce now. Xiang Li cleared his throat and said to the priest politely, You can do it now. The priest was dumbfounded. Even dogs know how to play with tablets these days? I'm not as proficient as a dog. Bearing with complicated emotions, the priest went through the divorce process again. I hereby announce that you two have regained your freedom. May God bless you. Xiang Feng held his hand and shook it. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work. It's no trouble at all. The priest smiled. Anyway, he had already paid them both. He was smart enough to leave temporarily after completing his work, leaving enough space for these strange people. Time passed and everyone was waiting for the main system to reply. All of a sudden, Yi's face was full of agony as she felt a tearing sensation from the depths of her soul. No, I don't want to go back. I want to stay here. I'm Xianxia. I'm the little princess of the Xiang family. Her voice became weaker and weaker, and her vision turned black as she lost consciousness completely. Star City. Ling Yi had been clamoring for a long time, and he was probably tired as he hugged his knees and sat on the ground. Although it was a virtual projection, it somehow exuded a sense of desolation and dejection. He had lost. He had lost to Xianxia. Xianxia had flipped through the book that Fu Yunyue had given her countless times before she remembered Ling Yi. She then looked up at him. She turned off the silent mode and asked, Did we know each other before? Ling Yi stared fixedly at her. Big sister, don't you remember me? He laughed louder and louder. In the end, he even laughed until tears flowed out of his eyes. That's true. I'm just a passerby in your life. It was an artificial intelligence programmed by humans. After changing its soul time and time again, it had collected the energy and will of various planes. It discovered that it could split a portion of its data to travel between different planes. Thus, out of the artificial AI's desire to learn and perfect the rules, it began to travel. During one of its travels, it met Xianxia. At that time, her parents had been in a car accident, and she cried very hard. It had taken over someone else's body and deliberately crashed into it. The little girl wiped her tears as she took out a milk candy from her pocket and apologized to the stranger. So sorry. At that moment, its core data felt like it was about to be burned. It was also from that moment onwards that it became him. The artificial intelligence created by humans had the self-awareness of humans. It's fine if you don't remember me. In any case, Big Sister can only accompany me here forever. As soon as he finished speaking, the girl in front of him yawned as if she had been gently coaxed to sleep. She lay down comfortably on the couch and her eyelids became heavier and heavier. Chapter 837. Lingyi realized something. Even when he was infected with the virus, he wasn't so shocked. He attacked the virus program written by Xianxia like a madman. The virtual projection was in so much pain that his expression was distorted. He was covered in wounds, but he still refused to stop. He spent so much effort to switch Xianxia here. He thought that he could keep her in this world forever. He didn't expect her to see through all his schemes. But even if she hated him, it was better than losing her. Sister. Xianxia. No, you can't. You can't leave me. No. The only response he got was a deathly silence. After an unknown period of time, Lingyi looked at the girl on the sofa and groaned in pain. The pain from the depths of her soul still made Yi's heart palpitate. She opened her eyes with difficulty and looked at the projection in front of her. Who are you? Lingyi's face was pale and he was in extreme despair. She left, she really left. Is it a new virtual boyfriend? Yi muttered and realized that she wasn't at her original home. Did that woman rent a new house? She tapped on the optical computer on her wrist and her eyes lit up. The latest model? Not only that, she realized that the communication function was set to do not disturb. She turned on the receiving mode, and the flashing red dots almost froze the optical computer. Looking at the messages on it, Yi was pleasantly surprised. Hundreds of millions of fans on the livestream platform? Fu Yunyue and I are good friends? Fu Zichuan, the commander of the Alliance's starship, is interested in me? She suddenly felt that it was quite good to switch over. Anyway, she had already been exposed in that world and her life was worse than death. But in the interstellar world, she had a new beginning. At this moment, the doorbell rang. Yi went to open the door. I'm so tired. Sister, I finally queued up to buy this milk tea. It's super delicious. Fu Yunyue said that she was tired, but in fact, the one who was holding the milk tea was Fu Zichuan. Behind him was the cute combat robot Xiaobai. Looking at the face that was similar to Shi Sui's, Yi's heart pounded. Fu Zichuan narrowed his eyes, hiding danger. Fu Yunyue didn't notice her strange expression and asked casually, Are you done packing? We agreed to start our journey in space today. Yi nodded vigorously. All right. I can leave at any time. Fu Yunyue immediately sensed that something was wrong. Aren't Tutu right? What Tutu? As soon as Yi finished speaking, she realized that Tutu was Xiangxi's nickname and also her live stream name. She quickly corrected herself. That's right. I'm Tutu. Fu Yunyue took a step back. Fu Zichuan said calmly, It's not her. Let's go. Even Xiaobai had a regretful expression on her face. She took off the hairband that Xiangxia had given her and the bow that she had made herself. Yi panicked. Where are you going? But the Fu siblings did not even look at her and walked away. In the hover car, Fu Yunyue sniffled. Her eyes were red. She should have gone home. Fu Zichuan replied softly, Yes. Fu Yunyue wiped her tears and smiled widely. Then she must have met someone she likes and been liked by someone. Hey, Tutu can finally get her wish. After a long time, Fu Yunyue heard her brother's low and hoarse voice. As long as she's happy. Chapter 838. Yi didn't expect to receive such a huge blow as soon as she returned home. However, she quickly adjusted her state of mind. Even without the Fu siblings, she still had so many fans on the Star Web livestream. She logged onto the Star Web livestream and soon received a greeting from Empire Livestream, as well as a daily contract renewal. Yi naturally agreed and signed the contract for the day. The staff of Empire Livestream asked politely, Tutu, what are you going to cook today? Can you spoil the show so that we can help you promote it? Yi froze for a moment. She didn't know how to cook at all. If she did, she would be exposed. Hence, she expressed that she wasn't going to cook today and was going to sing. She was going to show her face and sing. The staff on the other side was instantly excited. Tutu's face. This was an explosive event. The staff immediately applied to the higher-ups and soon, the application was approved for the best and most popular spot on the Star Web livestream. Simply put, as long as one used the Star Web livestream, they would receive a push notification from Tutu's livestream. Half an hour later, the livestream began. Yi was a little nervous as she waved at the camera. "Hello everyone, I'm Yi. Ahem, I'm Tutu." What appeared on the fan screens was a face with heavy makeup. Although it was quite pretty, everyone was still a little disappointed. She was too different from the image that everyone had imagined. They had thought that Tutu was a beautiful, gentle, and indifferent girl who would still be beautiful even without makeup. However, there were too many people who liked Tutu and the pop-up comments were shocking. The fans were enthusiastically sending gifts to her. Yi was overjoyed when she saw this. She had just greeted them and the gifts she received, if converted to star coins, would be worth millions. This was even when Yun Zhongyue was not around. With her taking the lead in sending gifts, the number would probably double. Yi started singing. "Fans?" Yi continued singing. "Fans? Shut up, she's one of us. Oh my god, I'm so disillusioned with Tutu. Let's talk nicely, don't poison my ears." Empire livestream was also dumbfounded. They didn't expect Tutu's singing to be so terrible. The loss of viewers in the livestream was simply a waste of their promotion. Not only that, during the interactive segment, Tutu's words were even more shocking. "Thank you all for sending me gifts. Everyone, continue, don't stop. Why do you keep asking me to cook? That's something only a chef can do. Besides, her hands are so delicate. How can she endure cooking all the time? The audience? Was such a pretentious woman really Tutu? What's more, Bunny was a ruthless person who made 100 dishes every day for more than a month. How could he not be able to endure this little bit of hardship?" Thus, everyone came to a conclusion. This Tutu was a fake. The number of viewers in the livestream was getting lower and lower, and those who stayed behind were all doubtful. "Did you steal Tutu's optical computer? Cook a dish to prove you're Tutu? It's a fake, right? Hee hee, you can't be Tutu." He never expected that she would still be doubted after returning to her own body. Panic was boundless and almost drowned her. Shivering, Yi turned off the livestream. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of her retribution. In the church in Nanqing, the girl's eyelashes fluttered and she slowly woke up, only to see familiar faces.